So we're just already talking when she walks in, and then
Hola,
say hello,
my
and
name
then
is
we'll
Paola
continue our
Duran,
conversation.
and I am welcoming you today to the crazy, amazing, fantastic world of Paul Booth. This is Last Rites, this is Inc. Macabre, and you're very welcome to share this experience with me. So please come in. This is the inner sectum of Paul, and this is where he creates. This is the magical place where the art happens. And where is Mr. Paul?
Over here.
So here's Mr. Paul. Today we are with Jason, who is going to be the victim of the day. He's going to get tattooed today. And we are celebrating Halloween as well. So I hope you enjoy this ride. And this is a very special treat for me as well. So we're going to enjoy it together.
All right. Well, we're consulting for the tattoo, so we're going to just wrap that up and then start tattooing. So,
Right.
yeah.
Can't wait for the pain.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So as you can see, this is a very special place. We have all these amazing collection of artifacts and pieces of art here. This is a very inspirational, creative space, and is very fantastic that he allows us to explore his world today. Usually very private, but yeah, today he opened the door of his studio so we can explore it with him.
So, back to your tattoo. Okay, so we're going to do the whole area, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole lower arm from this tattoo down. Okay.
From the bad one to the good one.
To the good one, right? Hopefully the good one, right? Okay, so I'm probably going to focus in this general area today.
Right.
I'm going to plan out the whole thing, but as far as what we've already discussed, we're talking about, we talked about a spine.
Yep.
And we talked about things we have in common, like the Higgs boson,
Yeah.
and interest in dark matter.
Exactly.
So we're going to give that aspect to it. I'm thinking
Yeah, it's super
maybe
cool.
a Higgs boson kind of floating in here,
Right.
and perhaps a spine with some ribs kind of wrapping around it, you know,
yeah.
and the spine twisting up your arm like that.
Totally.
And then whatever other elements we're feeling, you know. Is there anything else you want to incorporate in it, like particular subject matter or...
I mean, I feel like that's really covering everything that we talked about. You know, we talked about kind of the, you know, the science aspect that we're both digging, and,
Right.
and I really like the necrohelix stuff that you've been designing that
Cool.
that hopefully will be coming very soon.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like those are really the elements. I mean, and where you want to go from there. I mean, you know, you're Paul Booth, man.
Yeah. Well, I want to, when I
down
come
with
up
whatever.
your arm, can I frame this out and do some stuff behind it?
Yeah, whatever you want.
We'll just keep
Yeah.
that for historic...
Sorry, that's
historic
exactly what it is.
purposes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is what happens when you get a tattoo at 17 in a house in Whiteland,
The
Indiana.
thing is, though, even like my old shitty tattoos, I keep them because they're like moments in history, you know?
Totally. I mean, the way I view it is if you don't have any bad tattoos, then you're a poser.
Something's wrong if you don't have
exactly.
a bad tattoo, yeah.
That's also how I justify my bad tattoos, but that's all right.
That's like a tattooer who has no tattoos, you know?
can't
You don't
trust that
even
guy.
know what it feels like. How are you, you know?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
But Mr. Paul, I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you going to cover up that
No.
old tattoo, or
We're
you
going
are
to
going
keep that
just walk
'cause it's
around it?
a piece of history.
Yeah.
Right.
And
It's important to him.
You know,
so.
it is. I mean, it's definitely important to me. It's a scar that tells me about a point it was in my life, and I am not, you know, I'm proud of it. It's poorly done, but the subject matter I'm into.
But when you look at it, you go right back to that time in your life, you know?
Totally.
Everything
Yeah.
around it. That's what I love about my old work. Like this one, I got the palette, artist palette with the brushes, and that whole concept came from this old show called Kung Fu with Carradine. And in the opening of the show, there's this big cauldron with these dragons sculpted into the sides, and he puts his arms on and burns them into his arms, you know. And I was always like, that's what got me into body modification, was when I was a little kid watching Kung Fu. And I'm like, wow, that would be cool, you know. It's like that symbol of like dedication and power, you know. So I did my version with an art palette, you know. So that's my tough guy tattoo. But,
That's cool.
yeah, so I get it, you know.
Yeah.
It's all about
this one. This
history.
is the worst one though, because that was actually.
I'd love to fix that.
Yeah. Well, it was supposed to be
I
my
know.
face.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but it's also one of those things that like. People when they meet me, if they're like, "Oh, you don't know anything about Jason," well, he has his own face tattooed on his arm.
Right.
Poorly, might I add.
I have
That's all you
clients
need.
that, you know, I do like a demonic version of themselves, and so it's kind of like an alter ego for the person wearing it. You know?
Yeah, this is just all ego. There's no alter at all. It's just all ego.
All right. So,
yeah,
I'm ready. I'm all set up. So
I'm excited.
We'll get in the chair. We'll start drawing on you and see what we come up with.
I can't wait for the pain.
Yeah. And we also have. You want to tell everybody Chris Sids is here? My face tattoo.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
We're working
Chris
on her
is
today
here.
as well.
I'm going to introduce you to this fantastic lady who has the most amazing face tattoo that you can imagine. She has got a little of attention and crazy comments in social media, but I think it's absolutely wonderful, and it's very nice to get to meet the person behind the tattoo as well.
We got to talk about you meeting the mayor.
Oh, right. I should tell you that I said hello to the mayor of New York today, which was really interesting.
He had no idea. He could have been famous. If he had just come with you, he could have been famous.
Right.
And then
We could have had the mayor on the show. I didn't know what I'd ask him.
Right.
Like, so what are you doing?
He wished me a very good day.
What are you fucking up today?
He said, I hope you have a very good day, witch.
You know what I would ask? I would ask how the MTA is still losing money.
Right.
That's what I would ask.
That is a fantastic question.
There's like 4 million people a day that ride that thing. How are they still losing money?
How are they losing money, right?
I don't understand it.
Right. So, Mr. Paul, how often do you get to do a freehand tattoo?
Oh, I freehand almost every day.
Usually your customers,
That's the way I like to work, you know.
your clients come and they give you the creative freedom so you can sketch on them.
Yeah. I'll take their idea and I'll just interpret it my own way.
Right.
Requires a lot of trust, but my clients, you know, are always happy to grant me that. So, yeah.
That is fantastic.
I don't even know what I'm doing today. We'll find out.
Are you a little nervous?
Of course, yeah.
Right.
You always are. I don't know. Like last time I was getting tattooed, I was getting work done, and I thought, why do I do this to myself? This hurts so much. Like, why am I doing this? But then as soon as the pain goes away, you forget, and you're like, oh, yeah, I want some more of that.
I love it. Right.
So, yeah.
Gordon's here.
Gordon. Oh, hey, Gordon.
Gordon's our other host here.
Look at you.
I'm looking forward to getting some ink on
Gordon,
you.
Yeah,
Gordon
that's
joined a heavy metal, let's say a black metal band in Norway, right?
What's
That's what you just
what
joined
band?
it.
What's the name of the band?
Let's say Gorgoroth.
I'm in.
That's a good one.
Gorgon.
Grandpa Goran.
Gorgoroth.
Oh, they're close enough.
Grandpa out of it.
He's a grandpa.
Close enough, right?
Yeah, but I'm 51, so I'm up there too. So if anyone can tease you.
Metal grandpa.
Metal Grandpa.
Are you?
All right. Well, we're looking forward to having Jason get some ink on you, brother.
Destroyed. I know, it's going to be crazy.
No. Well, you couldn't be in better hands than the hands of the master.
I've been waiting. I've known Paul for a decade now, and I'm excited to finally get some work from him. So I can point it now when I see people. I don't have to be like, well, these are bad. I don't have to tell all those silly stories you just told about the bad tattoos I have. Now I can talk about, let's talk about this.
Now you can brag about the great tattoos.
Exactly.
I mean, people, the people that are watching probably know this, but some may not know that Paul is an international celebrity.
Yeah.
I mean, before this afternoon is done, there's going to be thousands and thousands of messages on Facebook and Instagram from all around the world.
Yeah. Well, Forbes called him the king of rock tattoo. So
Well, it is true. I mean, how many heavy metal guys has he done, and how many great artists, tattoo artists from around the world come in to watch him.
Come here,
to watch him do his stuff.
I mean, that's how I met him. You know, I was working in the music industry, and one of my clients was a artist by the name of Chad Gray, who's in the band Mudvayne, and And I think Chad introduced me to him, and then I was their product manager at a record label, and I hired Paul to do the artwork for the self-titled record that came out in 2009, Mudvayne.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Which actually the what do we call it? The model on the cover is your mother.
Yeah.
She was tattooed on the last.
Yeah.
last
That
one,
was
right?
the last show we did. We tattooed her. It was an amazing experience watching her scream at her son.
Oh, what a
As her son was,
character my mother
her son
is.
was paying. Paul was paying his mom back for all the years of punishment.
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's a great cover. It's cool too. We did it in all black and white, or excuse me, in all black light ink.
Wow.
So it was kind of a big deal. We shipped an entirely blank album to stores. So what was sitting on the Best Buy shelves and all that stuff when Best Buy existed was a completely white CD or a completely white vinyl, and the only way you could read anything is if you put it under a black light.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of, the sales department was not happy with us about it. They made us put a big sticker on it.
Right. So did that influence sales? And did that have
I think so. I think so. I think it was very cool. I mean, you know, to his credit, Chad Gray is the one who came up with the idea, and he had work done by Paul, as had many members of Mudvayne and Lamb of God and a lot of other people that we've dealt with, and so, you know, he said, well, I'd love for Paul to do this, and Paul came up with the idea, and it was completely his concept, if I remember correctly, and then just creating the art, though. I mean, creating that type of packaging. Nobody had ever done that. That's the first time that anyone's ever made it.
Has anybody done it since?
No.
Or has it just been
to
another Paul Booth original?
Yeah, absolutely.
It became like a collectible.
Absolutely.
A collectible item.
Yeah, I think we only sold 2,000 of the vinyl, and the vinyl itself glowed in the dark also, which was pretty cool. Yeah, that was a fun package. Paul,
that was so much fun to make.
I'm sure you've got it around here somewhere,
so much work. Yeah, I have to pull it up on the computer.
Yeah, I'd love to look. If we could look at it before the day is done.
Yeah. It was on one of the screens earlier today.
Before,
I don't know.
I can't think where it is.
It's tough to show it on the screen though, because obviously blacklight, you know, blacklight ink glows kind of a bluish purple, and so you can't really replicate that on a computer screen. So we had a lot of black and white versions that we were using for the promotional stuff. And then Paul, you created like almost like a glowing, like a bluish green version that we ended up using on iTunes, and I think that's on Spotify and stuff like that.
Midwest US.
Yeah, so because digitally, obviously, we can't put it underneath a blacklight.
Paul, have you done other album covers also?
Yeah, I've done quite a few. I'm sorry.
No, you're getting ready to get.
Yeah, you know, multitasking and me are not always.
Well, you did the Hell Yeah, you did Blood for Blood.
Yeah, I did a bunch of 6 Feet Under stuff.
6 Feet Under, yep.
Some death metal bands, Necrophagia, old band.
Did you do any Lawrence Welk covers?
No, but we're in talks.
Yeah. I mean, he's dead, so you're talking to me on his way.
Well, I mean, that's totally Paul's line.
I heard that John Denver, before he passed, you were working on John Denver's last cover, right?
Is he still alive?
No, he's gone. He's gone. But I heard you were working on his last cover.
What he was telling me about that one is that he's actually using John Denver's remains, and he's shooting that for a posthumous.
Yeah.
Posthumous?
Yeah.
Posthumous album cover. That's what I heard. So I heard it's happening, but I don't know.
So are we ready to get you in the chair?
I'm ready.
I'm just getting my reference pictures up and. Technical difficulty here.
Yeah.
So, like, do you know what's coming?
Not really. We had a small kind of consultation about some ideas that we've been talking about. I was in a place where I didn't know exactly what I wanted next for a tattoo, but I trust Paul so much.
What's it like to hand yourself over? I mean, this is going to be on your body forever.
Yeah.
And you're handing over what's going to be on your body forever to Paul. What does that feel like?
I'm more excited about that than anything else.
To find out what it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, look, I'm a musician. I'm a person that works in the arts. I'm a person that loves the arts.
Right.
And an artist like Paul, to be able to trust that person and just hand over to them and say, okay, look, I love what you do. I love who you are, and I want you to create something for me. I mean, nobody else is going to have this piece of art. You know, and it's going to be about the relationship between he and I and the time that we spend in this chair. You know, and that's amazing. That's a life experience that doesn't happen. That's not going to a job. That's not sitting at a desk. That's a life experience.
And I presume you wouldn't. I mean, there aren't many people in the world you would allow mark your body, not knowing what it's going to be marked with forever.
Especially after I've learned my lesson a couple of times.
Well, I want to take this opportunity to say hello to Chris Howard, who just sent us a message letting us know that Paul tattooed him 15 years ago, and he believes the tattoo looks as fantastic as the first day.
Oh, that's great to hear.
That is fantastic.
That's awesome.
I also would like to say hello to people in the Midwest. We have a lot of people from Michigan, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. So hello to all of you.
Wow.
Also Firenze, Italia.
Good morning.
And Greece.
Are we getting people from Greece?
From Greece and Italy, yes. So hello Firenze. Ciao.
Wow.
So why don't we get into the? Why don't we move on into the?
I'm ready.
Paul, you ready?
Yes.
I think I'm ready. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm moving your stuff.
No, that's all right. This is technology. Okay.
Cool.
So, yeah, we're good to go. All right. Now, get the old headlamp working.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Paul, how many tattoos do you think you've done?
Man, I lost count. I lost count at 1,000. I don't know, 30 years. I don't know. It's scary to think about. It just makes me feel old, you know? I need a Dixie cup.
A Dixie cup.
A Dixie cup. Maybe I can use one of these.
Do you have them there? I can... Yes.
No, I don't.
Excuse me, I'm gonna find a Dixie cup.
What do you need a Dixie cup for, Paul?
Water, I forgot. That's fine, that's fine.
So here's what I want to know from you, Paul. What was the first tattoo you ever saw?
Kid in high school. The bad boy in school. The one that was always in trouble. Thank you. Actually, can you fill that up a little more, like double? He had a scorpion hand poked into his arm, inner arm, I remember. And I always looked at it and I'm like, that's really cool, the whole idea of a tattoo, you know, but it could be done so much better. I was always like, why would you, if you're going to make it permanent, why not make it good, you know? But this was back in 83, 82, you know, and there wasn't much in the way of art back then in tattooing, so,
Yeah.
you know, it was what it was, but I was always fascinated by it, so.
That's interesting. So you didn't start in tattoo, you started in fine art?
Yeah, I was a painter before I was a tattooer.
You started painting with airbrush.
Well,
since you were very young.
I mean, since I was a little kid, I painted and drew, but in high school, I made it a business. I did all the denim jackets for the metal bands, like the Iron Maiden jackets and
You
all
also
that
painted
stuff.
a truck
And I painted a tractor trailer. Yeah.
and motorcycles.
Murals on hot rods and bikes and airbrushing and that sort of thing. And then I got into tattooing when I was 19. By the time I was 20, I was working, and the rest is history, really.
That's cool.
All right, let's shave that hair.
Oh, exciting.
Best part of my job. Shaving the hair off of men. It's great when I have to tattoo an ass, you know.
Hello, Mario in Libya. Thank you so much for being with us right now. Also, we have a very interesting question about Paul's music. Are we going to continue listening to your album today?
No, it's now going to be a copyright infringement if I play my own music. So I made a soundtrack just for the show that is not copywritten, that I can play, and nobody's going to shut us down. So
Good. Okay.
what you're hearing right now, assuming you're hearing the sound bed, that I made a week ago just for this. So.
Right.
Did you get my email about that? I sent you an email about that. The
maybe
copyright
not.
stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Not the sound bed, the copyright.
Yeah. It's so complicated, man.
I know, it's so ridiculous.
I think it's funny that I can copyright infringe myself.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, Heidi asks that you tell more of your creepy stories.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Heidi. I love telling creepy stories. Wow, okay, I have to think about a creepy one. I could,
What? You know what? What's the scariest moment of your life?
the scariest moment of my
you?
life?
Yeah, what's a moment that really frightened you?
Ooh. I've always had trouble with getting frightened. I love getting frightened, but I've always had trouble doing it. Not that I'm some big tough guy, but like things that frighten normal people make me feel good. I don't know. It's always been that way. When I was a kid in the high chair, my mother said I always went for the black crayon, so I don't know. Maybe I was possessed from birth or something, but
That would explain a lot.
things that scare me are real world things, like
Yeah.
fucked up things people do. Horror movies don't scare me. They tend to thrill me, you know. You go into a little fantasy world in your head and kind of live vicariously through the movie, but essentially, that's a fantasy world, you know?
Yeah, right.
When I see things like, I don't know, some guy in bath salts eating someone's face off, it doesn't really scare me, but it's disturbing, you know? You're walking down a boardwalk on a beach or something, and some lunatic runs up and chews your nose off your face. I mean, that's out of nowhere, you know? But of course, I'm the guy grabbing my phone to catch it on film, rather than help the guy. You know, that's the sad reality of it. It's like, I gotta capture
you
this.
and everybody else.
Yeah, right. At least I embrace it. You know, I don't pretend to be a humanitarian.
When you were, you were an artist before you were a tattoo artist, before you found this calling. Like, was your work always macabre and gothic?
Yeah, I got notebooks from grade school that have these rudimentary skulls drawn on them and villains shooting people, and you know, I used to get in trouble in Catholic school a lot because of that stuff. They didn't really like my art.
But you were never the guy who like some kids would torture ants or grasshoppers and stuff.
Oh yeah, totally. I used to burn my G.I. Joes and deform them and amputate their limbs, and I never really killed animals, you know, so
Because you're not a serial killer.
I'm not a serial killer by nature, really. More by fantasy. I'm kind of an aspiring serial killer.
You live vicariously.
I live vicariously through the freaks in the world, yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm just a wannabe.
Paola, people are asking where you're from. They hear your magnificent accent, and they're trying to place it. Which part of Mars are you from?
I am actually from Colombia, from Bogota, Colombia.
And tell us about what brought you here to the States from Bogota.
Well, I came initially for a job interview, and by accident I ended up stepping into Mr. Paul's world, and it's been 9 years since. So, yeah.
I don't want to get too personal, but what are all the things you do in Mr. Paul's world?
Oh my gosh, it goes from curating at the gallery, co-curating, and also doing photography, video, editing. Is a big spectrum of things that we cover here. I'm usually the person in charge of the photography and helping with the video that he does for his projects.
What about what are the video that he does? Well,
we have a couple of projects, and we are creating a very interesting video art duo that would be called Pablo Paolita. So we have done very funny. Yeah, we have done very funny videos just for us.
Yeah.
For fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, we hope that soon enough we can share it with everybody.
So is it a video with the two of you, or?
No, it's collaborative.
It's a collaboration.
Like we shoot, direct, edit together. And anything we do collaborative
he has a step a little bit in the video, in the music video area. He directed this fantastic video for Caballero Conspiracy, and so we help him all the step of the way, like pre-production, production, post-production, and everything. So yeah, pretty much. Well, he does a lot by himself, but yeah, he needs to have some support. So
well, what people, when you talk about the gallery, what some people may know who are watching, but many don't, is that there really are 3 floors here at the Last Rites studio.
Right.
There's just outside this Paul's workroom is
It's
lair.
very cool because we have a first floor that is mostly dedicated to surreal art that is not particularly extremely dark.
Right.
The program is designed, is thought of to give the artist the opportunity to explore their darkest and the most intimate human condition. And so
I mean, they're secrets. They're private.
Secrets. They're you know, all the things, like mostly most galleries like to show happy things that people want to hang in their living rooms. We provide the artists with this amazing space and opportunity where they can explore their darkest side. They can explore, you know, like the most difficult parts of their human condition and
Right.
you know, and take and help the viewers also like explore that, and that is like the principle that we have in the first floor. The second floor is a little bit more intense. Is Last Rites Gallery, is the gallery that we've been working for a long time now, and we have a very solid group of artists and a very solid project.
And it's a
that we
group that
work
keeps
with
coming
for a
back. It's a sort of a group of artists. That
Yes,
you
we have
doing-
a family of artists
Right,
that
right,
we
right,
continue
right.
working with for years now. So
Right.
it's a very interesting space, and I think that we are the only space dedicated to this type of art,
Right.
especially in New York. There are a couple in the world, but in New
Same.
York we are unique. Yes.
And in the basement, which we'll take you down to later, there is a group of spectacular tattoo artists that work and have their own
Right.
clients, and then
Yeah.
often there are guest artists, right,
Right.
from around the world.
Right, we have a
who come to
resident
work.
artist and we have the guest artists that come all year long. We have, like this time today, we're going to introduce you later to our amazing guest artist, Andrea Aferni, who comes from Italy and is a brilliant tattoo artist. So
And we'll see.
we'll see some of his,
some of his
we are
stuff
going to be
later.
able to talk to him later, yes.
So let's go back to Paul. And what are you doing now, Paul?
Designing a tattoo. Working on a spine with some kind of abstract ribs that are going to encase a Higgs boson shooting electrically through the spine, hopefully.
Wow.
That's what I'm feeling anyway. We'll see what happens.
So
it always changes.
Did you have this idea before you sat down with Jason?
I just took the elements we discussed, you know, we talked about things we had in common and what we wanted to express in the tattoo.
Can you say what that is? What are those things?
Can you
Sure,
recap?
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, head spin, tattoo.
Draw, I got it. I got it. You draw.
You got this.
That'll
Yeah.
work. Yeah, so Jason,
So, yeah, I can tell you.
So what? Yeah,
I mean, it's, for starters, you know, I really like a series that he's been working on for a little while called Necrohelix, which is using a spine and a skull and creating a circular, almost, what's it called, with a snake that eats itself?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what that's called, but we've seen that
Yeah,
image.
you know what I'm talking about, yeah. So
A
it's
snake who's eating his own tail.
using his own tail, exactly,
Right.
yeah. So it's kind of a similar idea, but using a spine and a skull, and I really
So
like.
the spine is eating the skull?
Right. It's
Wow.
like, or the skull's eating the spine.
Right,
Going that way.
right,
yeah.
right, of
it's,
course.
it's wrapped that way at least.
Right, right.
And so I really liked that visual that he had done. And
What does that
then,
mean to you?
and that doesn't necessarily mean anything special to me. That I just loved the visual of it. So we started talking about kind of like the sinewy and the snake-like aspect of a spine. And then we were talking about other things that we're both into, and we, you know, Paul and I do a lot of work together, but then we also talk a lot about just, you know, the other things we're interested in, like science,
what?
and well, like, you know, specifically, like, I don't know, we geek out about stuff like dark matter,
Yeah,
and,
dark
and
matter
what's
and,
going on at the
quantum physics and
right, yeah,
you know,
Right.
at the in CERN, you
Do
know.
you
with
both
the
read like
quantum
physics, high-end physics, or
I mean, look, you know,
not high?
yeah, not high-end, right.
I think we're both convinced that there was an explosion at CERN a few years ago that shifted us into an alternate reality, because it's the only explanation
Yeah.
for all the ridiculousness that's
Yeah.
going on
Right
all
around-
of a sudden. in
right
the
around
world.
2016.
Yeah, so, yeah, right around then.
I wonder what happened in 2000.
Something weird happened,
Something
and
weird,
particularly in the United States of America.
I mean, honestly, all over.
all over the world.
Yeah.
Look what's happening in Brazil right now.
Everything, yeah. Argentina, and yeah. It's,
Germany,
So,
Hungary,
Brazil, or
Poland.
Brazil, you just went,
Yeah,
the new
it's
election,
weird,
yeah.
right? It's funny how that is, right? Like 1968, all around the world, it was a kind of cultural revolution. We in the States thought we were the only ones, but in Paris, it was wilder.
Yeah, totally.
You know, it's
and now
funny
it's
how that happens.
2018.
Oh,
We're on an 8 again.
I don't know. That's 50 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we know what 8 is.
Let's not go
It's
there.
2 more than 6.
It's 2 more than 6. Yeah.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, so that was a big part of it, you know, just talking about, because I don't know, I'm very fascinated by that stuff, because when you're talking about, you know, cellular and you know, and physics and things like that, you're talking about the building blocks of life, and you're talking about elements that don't change. You know, and I also mentioned to him that I really love the idea, which this is not a new idea, but the idea that our bodies are actually just carrying vehicles for our brain and our spinal cord. Because at the end of the day, that's what exists. Your brain exists.
You're saying that your spinal cord and your brain carry it all?
No, your brain and your spinal cord are you.
Are you?
That's what makes up you. The reason you have lungs is to provide oxygen for your brain to survive. The reason that you eat is to provide fuel for your brain to survive. Like, your body is a encasement.
Do you believe in the soul? Is there a soul?
No, I don't believe in it.
You don't believe in the soul?
No.
You know, Paul is a big spiritual. Paul goes to Mass every Saturday.
I know.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Paul's a big religious guy.
I will say this.
I like a good comedy, you know.
It is possible that there is something that exists, you know, beyond what we understand, and that may be something that people consider a soul, because we obviously are learning every single day. But the idea of a spiritual soul, I'm not.
Something that lives on past us now. It's just.
Yeah, I'm not in that. And I don't. I'm ready. Like,
Right.
when we came in earlier, we were talking about that this might just turn into a snuff film. I'm ready to go. Like, I've had a good run. Like, I'm okay.
Right.
Mr. Paul, I have a very interesting question for
Yeah.
you. Somebody asked if you as a Catholic boy, went into a confession, and how scary that was.
Well, I had to go to confession. That's what school was about, you know. I mean, catechism, confessions, all that shit. What was it like going to confession?
Yeah, how scary was that?
It's a great question.
That could be pretty scary.
That
isn't
stuff,
it?
that part was never really scary to me, because the priests never scared me. It was the nuns that scared me.
Wow.
So I was more afraid of school and class than the you know.
So you were taught by
priests.
nuns. You were taught.
I was
by
taught by
Yeah.
nuns.
What scared you about the nuns?
Well, the psychological torment that it was inflicted on me is, like, obviously left an impact. So
I think.
I would get hit all the time, punished, humiliated. Psychological torture was their thing, you know. It was never about educating the kids. It was about controlling them and abusing them. They got off on putting us through hell, you know.
Were you singled out, do you think? Did you feel
I always
so?
ended up singled out, you know, because I was the kid who, you know, I've said before, my mother always taught me to always ask why in life, you know, figure things out, look at things objectively. And then I'd go to school and they'd tell me some ridiculous shit about some resurrection of some dude, and I'd be like, I'd ask questions that, you know, I was a fairly intelligent kid, so the questions I'd ask were questions they really didn't want to address. So rather than answer my question or anything, it would be like, I'd get attacked for it. So, you know.
Were you the only one asking those questions?
No, I mean, I don't remember so much, but I remember things like, I remember a girl who sat next to me in class had to go to the bathroom and pee, and they wouldn't let her, and she literally ended up peeing at her seat, and she was devastated. The kids were laughing at her. The nuns were encouraging the kids to laugh at her.
The nuns were encouraging the kids to laugh at her.
Oh, yeah. Well, humiliation was a big part of school. The nuns were all about ridicule and humiliation and public display of you know. So, like, if you got a question wrong, it wasn't just the dunce cap in the corner, and I've literally worn a dunce cap more than I could count.
Wow.
And
wow.
And pointed in the corner, and I remember nuns being like encouraging the kids to point and laugh. You know, as
Really?
part of it.
Literally
You know,
that?
literally, for real, literally.
How old?
And when you're like first grade,
This is
you don't
first
need
grade.
shit like that.
So,
you know,
I was wondering, we're talking about first grade, second grade?
up through 6th grade, and then I went to a private school for a couple of years, which was like kind of an Ivy League prep school for Yale and Harvard and all that. And I was a really smart kid. I was 4 years of Latin, spoke it fluently by the 8th grade, and high honor roll student. And then I ended up in public school because my mother ran out of money. And then it was like a whole different thing, getting bullied, and, you know, I was kind of an outcast.
So the last Catholic school you went to was what, you know, like when you were in 6th grade or something?
Yeah.
Then you switched over to, but the damage was done.
The damage had been done, yeah. My impressionable years were hammered in. you know.
Right.
And between that and, you know, my father and everything. They pretty much iced the cake with fucking up my head.
It's gonna hurt so much.
This is gonna hurt.
That right there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Why is
That's
that
a
gonna
difficult
hurt? Why is
spot,
that gonna
eh?
hurt?
Well,
That's a very
just
difficult
poke the inside of your elbow. Just
Wherever
poke
it
that
can
with your
feel
finger.
real
Yeah,
nice.
here.
Yeah.
Anywhere on your body where it can feel real nice is where it hurts the most.
If you just poke that with your finger, you can feel that little bit of pain. Now imagine digging needles in that.
Right.
Better you than me, Jason.
Oh, you're gonna
great.
get in the chair, Gordon.
I want to take advantage of this moment and say hello to our friends in Austria, also Spain, Serbia.
Serbia, cool.
Serbia,
Wow.
yes.
Hey, everybody.
Mexico, Venezuela, South Carolina,
All over.
Even as far as South
Canada.
Carolina.
Hello, Canada.
Holy crap.
Serbia feels a lot closer than South Carolina.
So we had Argentina.
We had Argentina. There's a big election in South Carolina next week.
Mr. Paul, we have a very nice question about what's with the piece that you have in the easel.
Oh, that was just a student experiment. It's really just a scrap I was playing around with. I don't have any real plans for it, but honestly, the other painting that's been sitting up there from my friend Roey, I wanted to take it off the easel because it hasn't changed lately. So I figured freshen things up a little bit with some other art. Okay, that'll.
So Paul, when you left elementary school, we'll call it, and then moved into a private school, you said, and then a public school, and you said it didn't get any better then.
All these different environments, you know. I was bullied in the private school. There's all a bunch of rich kids, and
What were you bullied about? Do you know?
well, I was a geek. I was like the kid literally with the tape holding his glasses together. I was as nerd as you can get. If I had pictures available, I'd show you what I looked like, and you'd say, "Oh yeah, you
maybe
were
next
bullied."
time we should look at them.
Yeah,
that would be cool to look at.
Yeah.
So were you an arty kid then? Yeah.
All I had was my art, because like I was an outcast. You know, I didn't get picked for baseball. I sat home and drew pictures, and I drew pictures of how I was going to kill all the kids I hated. Super villains, you know.
You were
like,
that guy.
Yeah, I was that kid. You know,
Yeah,
I was the kid that you'd
Did you?
probably
I'm going to
worry
ask you a
about.
difficult question instead of maybe an uncomfortable question. Did you ever feel like? I mean, because you clearly had a lot of anger, and you were already, I'm sure, very gifted and really isolated. Did you ever genuinely? I mean, did those fantasies ever? Did it ever feel real enough that you actually might do something violent?
That happens more now than when I was a kid. I was more of a victim when I was a kid. Now I'm more of a predator.
Right.
You know.
And we're going to see you do your predation on Jason's arm in a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Jason deserves it.
I'm sure
Jason's
I
been
do.
picking on you since he walked in.
I know. I heard. I got a mic on. I heard.
He's been bad-mouthing you behind your back.
definitely deserves it.
That's all right. We're gonna get him today.
Yeah.
I think he needs a little extra pain.
I can't wait. I'm so scared.
Mr. Paul, Andy Randy says hello, and he got a little demon tattoo from you in '98.
Oh, cool. Cool. What's up?
So he says
That's
hello,
cool.
and he says he loves your work.
Who was it?
Andy Randy.
Oh, okay.
When did you open your first shop, your own shop?
My first shop was a private office in Boonton, New Jersey. Up an alley, flight of stairs, totally not open to the public. And it was basically, just where, you know, I traveled a lot, so a lot of that stuff, you know, when I was home, I tattooed in my private place. In '98, I opened up in New York, and it was a curio shop, kind of a needful things kind of place that I tattooed in the back of. And then it became a full-on tattoo shop.
Did you work for other shops before that?
I worked for a friend of mine named Larry Davis in Suffern, New York for about a year and a half or so. And then I got my office cooking in Boonton for about a couple years. And yeah, I basically, like I said, I traveled so much. I was home. I was on the road 8 to 10 months out of the year, so having like a real shop was just kind of more of a nuisance for me. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mr. Paul, we have a viewer which would love to hear a very scary story from you.
All right. Scary story. Here we go. Scary story. I'll come up with something. Just give me a second. Well, you know, scary for me and scary to hear, I don't know if they're the same thing, really. Well, I've never seen a ghost, so I don't have stories like that. And when I find a haunted house or something like that, I'm more inclined to sleep in it and try and see a ghost than run away. So,
but Halloween is your favorite
maybe
holiday.
a different
of
word
all
than
times.
scary. Give me a story. Remind me of something. You've been around me for like, what, 10 years?
But what about Halloween in general? Why is Halloween such an important holiday for you? Or maybe the only holiday that you actually celebrate?
It's probably the only one I really celebrate, yeah. It's the aesthetic. It's from my childhood, you know, Halloween was always the best. I used to love making costumes when I was a kid, and just to make the costume, never mind the trick-or-treating, but so I always had some crazy elaborate costume. And
Like, for example, what was a costume for when you were a kid?
always some kind of monster, you know. It was always something that was like, it's just bizarre. It wasn't never really a character. I think I was Peter Criss one year from Kiss when I was a kid, but that's about as mainstream I could possibly get. And
So in other words, you were a cosplayer.
yeah, I was a cosplayer before cos was cool.
Well, he did. I mean, someone should show. I mean, just you put this makeup on my face. I say, this probably took you 15 minutes. I mean, you know, it makes me look a lot better than I ordinarily look. But this is like a beautiful mask he's put on me. And it really, you did this on the fly while you were preparing for this broadcast today, just to show what you can do.
Halloween spirit, you know?
Yeah, I know. I guess, yes, but I'm just saying, this is very good work. Even without,
well, I'm a perfectionist and detail freak, so if it's not, if I don't like it, chances are no one else will either. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But I'm really highly critical, so being a perfectionist, I dial in the details, you know, and whether it's makeup or a tattoo or whatever it is. As an artist, if I'm not trying to make it perfect, I don't know what the point is. Not that it would ever be perfect, like I know that, but that doesn't mean you can't try and reach perfect.
Yeah, you have to attempt it. Yeah, absolutely.
What's the point if you're not trying?
If you're not, exactly.
Because I mean, I've always, anytime someone tells me I can't do something, I set out to do it, you know. And when I was told nothing's perfect, I said, we'll see. I'm still saying we'll see, but you know, nonetheless, that was the idea.
You're getting closer.
Yeah. I'm still working on a scary story.
Well, actually, you have like so many different kinds of scary stories.
I know, it's
But
like a whirlwind.
I think the one that
cover
really
right there.
scared you was when you had like some type of accident, car accident, when you were driving.
I got run over by a
across
car
the
once, but that
country.
wasn't scary.
No?
Yeah, we were building a Chevelle, me and my buddy in high school, and we're rolling it out of the garage, and it had no brakes, and we were swapping the motor. I was a grease monkey when I was a kid, built hot rods and stuff, and so we were building this '66 Chevelle, and the garage driveway was gravel, and it was on a hill, and there was a busy road at the bottom. We decided we were going to roll it out a little bit to get the cherry picker up to pull the motor out for some reason. And I'm behind the car thinking I could like stop it. But once the wheels went over the bump to go down the hill of the driveway, the car took off. And I was behind it, and I'm gripping the bumper, and my feet are digging into the gravel as the car is just coming at me. finally I stumbled. I ended up on my hands and knees scrambling sideways, and the tire, which was a 50 like this wide, caught me on my left hip, rolled up onto my chest. I swear it stopped halfway across.
Wow.
And then rolled over the other side. And I rolled out from under the car before the front wheel rolled over my head, you know.
God.
And the car, he managed to turn it sideways before it rolled down to the street and hit a tree. But I got up. I couldn't breathe for like, I mean, I seriously pushed the wind out of me. I had a tire track bruise straight across my back.
Wow.
All the zigzag patterns and everything.
Wow.
And that wasn't scary, but, you know, I remember standing up finally and being like, damn, that car's heavy, you know. And my friend, I remember laying on the ground as the car rolled past me. My friend's head is looking out the car door like, holy shit, and I'm looking up at him going, you know, can't breathe. You know, but, you know, I could tell some repo stories maybe. How about that? Before I was a tattooer, I was a repo man. And back then, we used to actually steal the cars. We didn't have tow trucks, really. So it was hot wiring and lock picking and all that. And I did that for almost 7 years. Wow. Even when I started tattooing, I was still a repo man. But talk about a job you love, man. I got to tell you, the adrenaline rush. I didn't even do it for the money. I did it just to steal cars in the middle of the night and get a adrenaline pump out of it, you know. And that's what it's really about for me.
Where'd you steal the cars?
I worked the 5 boroughs. I worked from Atlantic City to Brooklyn, Bronx, you know, and late at night, I would, there was one time I was trailing a guy, and it was winter, and it was a blizzard, and we were waiting for him to go to work. He came out finally, and he stopped at the post office on the way to work, and I was following him. Little country town kind of thing, you know, but in Jersey. But he ran into the post office to take care of his mail and left his car running because it was wintertime.
Oh, man.
So I pulled up next to him, I parked, locked up my car, walked around, jumped in his car, drove away, and left him at the post office in the middle of a blizzard, you know. Came back and got my car later. So shit like that used to happen all the time. And I know I sound like a jerk, but, you know, these are people that didn't pay their bills for like 6 months before I get their paperwork. So
in other words,
you know.
these, you had somebody who was your boss who was giving you the, say, get this car.
I would get paperwork. And sometimes we'd get keys, but it was rare they'd ever work. So we'd Slim Jim the car open, hot wire it. Toyotas and Nissans, we used to have a bet. You had 15-second delay before the alarm went off. Once you opened the door, you got 15 seconds to start the car.
Wow.
This was back in '85, you know. And so whoever missed the 15-second mark would have to buy the beer for later.
Wow.
But yeah, I could steal a Nissan in like 10 seconds flat.
Wow.
You know, or a Toyota. Or
how many people were in your in I'll call it a ring in your repo ring?
There was a dozen of us, but we all had our own partners. And my partner for years was Omar T. Justice. The T was for truth. And he had the Run DMC hat and the gold chains and,
cool.
you know, big gold thick-rimmed glasses. And, you know, and I'm like this metalhead with long blonde hair and a denim ripped up jacket. And so anytime cops saw us together, it was instantly pulled over, you know. Back then, I'd be face down on the side of a highway like twice a day because of the way I looked, you know.
So, but going back to this post office story, so how'd you know that guy was going to be there?
Oh, well,
you followed him?
His car was in his garage at his house, and I didn't really feel like breaking into the garage, so I just sat around and waited.
You waited for him?
Yeah, I waited for him to go to work and just followed him. But I had a priest pull a gun on me once in Brooklyn, and he was shaking so hard because I was stealing his car, and he was shaking so hard I thought I was dead just because he was so scared, you know. And so there was that. I stole a cop car once. Well, not a cop car, but off-duty cop. It was a Monte Carlo.
Who was behind on his payments?
Yeah. And I got about 3 blocks, and then it was right out of the movies. I got surrounded by cops, at the intersection.
Oh, shit.
All of them pull from every direction, get out of their cars, open their doors, shotguns pointed at me.
What happened?
Because it was a cop that I stole a car from. So,
did you go to jail?
No. Well, I had paperwork, but in New York, they don't want to know you got the car until you have the car. So it's
wait a minute,
basically
you had
Grand
paperwork
Theft
which made it
Auto.
legal that you weren't
Yeah.
actually stealing.
Right. But the cops don't want to know nothing until you have the car. So basically, you've got Grand Theft Auto until you get to the police station. And so as far as the cops were concerned, I was a thief. And they surrounded me, you know, and the thing you do is you put your hands on the steering wheel first thing like this, like, you know, and I'm like, repo, repo, and I showed them the paperwork, and they hated me, but they couldn't do anything, you know.
Wow.
I had, I stole a old Z28 hot rod Camaro from a Marines guy down in Asbury Park, and I go to start the car in his backyard. I didn't realize it was souped up, so it rumbled, woke up half the neighborhood, but flooded because it was souped up. I didn't realize it, so I flooded it. Took me a few minutes to get it to kick over, but by that time, as soon as I pulled out of the driveway to take off, the front door of the house kicks open, and this Marine in white boxers and a baseball bat and barefoot is charging at me full with a little crew cut and everything. I'm like, oh, fuck, you know. And so like I got it in drive, and I took off. I got to the corner to the stop sign. I stop, I look in my rearview mirror, and he's right behind me with the baseball bat.
Wow.
I go to the next block, Asbury Park. It's just a series of, you know, blocks. I had to go across it to the police station. And it ended up being a game because every block I would stop at the stop sign, wait for him to catch up, and then lay rubber and peel out to the next stop sign. And we did this all the way across Asbury Park to the police station, where I called ahead and had the police waiting. And God, he was pissed. But man, that was like, it's scary. Yeah, it's scary. I want to get him beat to death with a baseball bat, you know. That was a close call, actually. But what an adrenaline rush that was, I gotta say.
Were you tattooing at the same? Were you tattooing back then, or this was
Back
your own?
then, no, this was before. Yeah.
How old were you during this in this story?
18.
Wow.
I was trained as a repo man before I even had my driver's license.
Wow.
Mr. Paul, we have a viewer who would like to know which has been the coolest person you have ever tattooed.
Aside from Paula.
Aside from me, obviously.
Cool. So, Greg Allman was cool. I think in terms of celebrities, I guess, because they're interesting and if I like what they do. But I have a lot of cool clients, you know. I mean,
Greg Allman was covered with tats, wasn't he?
yeah, I fixed a bunch of shit on him, but
Right.
He passed just a few years ago, didn't he?
yeah.
And in that note, who would be the craziest person you have ever tattooed?
Max Factor. This guy broke out of an asylum out in Washington State,
Oh my God.
hitchhiked across the country, and slept under my front window when I was on 4th Street here in New York for a week, waiting for me to get home from a trip so that he could meet me in this dimension, because he'd already met me in 15 out of the 16 others he's aware of. And because he had to talk to me about some important shit regarding ambrosia, which was a crystal skull that anyone who had one would go insane. It was created by the government and all this crazy paranoid schizophrenic stuff. So when I met him, I brought him in. I had my manager interview him. I put him on my movie years ago. And
I remember that.
The Max Factor, yeah, he was crazy. But what?
But you usually, when you get people that have mental issues, that have, you know, like some kind of psychological illness, you are part of a healing process. You help them realize.
For people that are looking for, you know, there's all kinds of clients. I mean, there's people that just want something scary or cool, want to wear my art or, you know, depict something. Then there's also people equally so that are more looking for what I call like a tattoo exorcism. Right. And what that is kind of getting in their heads, getting more into the psychology behind it, you know, and it's people that have traumas from their past that they understand the power of a tattoo in where you can reach closure with the tattoo. You depict the trauma or the demon in its form, and making it into a tattoo, it becomes a part of you, unlike a painting or anything else. And when it becomes that part of you, psychologically, it becomes a healing, venting process where you can, puts a tangible face to your demon. You know, you're able to look at it, confront it, address it, and find your closure. Like, yeah, fuck you, I win. You know.
So you were featured in
Psychology Today, yeah.
In Psychology Today, for the process that you go through and how helpful it is for people to figure out that trauma,
right,
and kind of carry it bravely for the rest of their lives in their skin. Seems to be a very fantastic way of healing.
Yeah, well, it's the difference of living in denial and not addressing your issues, and the difference between that and confronting them, because that which doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, right? So, you know, you're never going to get over shit if you don't face shit. So a tattoo serves that purpose. Because it's a tattoo, it's unique because it's in you. It's not a picture hanging around your neck or on your wall. It's a part of you. And when it becomes a part of you is when you find the closure, you know? That's been I mean, I've had a lot of success with that with my clients, so.
It's an extraordinary gift you can give somebody. I mean, it's amazing.
It gives me a sense of purpose. I mean, I don't feel like some kind of shaman or nothing, but at my age, you know, it's nice to feel, as much of a nihilist as I am, as long as I'm alive, it's nice to feel some sense of purpose to what I'm doing. You know, it gives some validity to my art and my efforts, so I take it pretty seriously.
Somebody asked, what is the craziest place you've ever tattooed?
I had these two girls go, oh no, maybe I shouldn't tell this.
Yeah, there is a great story. You have to tell it, Mr. Paul. Please tell this story.
I love the fact that it's actually a real story.
Oh, I got lots of real stories. Yeah, it was a different era though, so I don't know how it'll go over these days. But no, I had these two girls came in back in the day. This was like 90, 91, 90 when I first started, and they were so hot, and dressed in pleather, you know, plastic, leather, officer hats with crops and like the whole 9 yards, all decked out, fetish style. And you know, in 91 there was not a lot of that, so of course I loved it. But they wanted matching tattoos of spiders on their vaginas. And wow. So I got these two hot chicks, a blonde and a brunette, dressed to the hilt coming in. Yeah, we a tattoo right here, you know, spiders, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I got time, you know. I guess I could bang that out, you know. Ended up dating the two of them for a year, but yeah. I
so
mean,
it's a love story, really.
It's a love story. Yeah, very heartfelt and.
Right.
All right, now we got to work that Higgs boson.
Did they ever say why they wanted matching tattoos?
Well, they were dating, so
they would. Oh, they were dating each other, and you dated them
and
too.
And then it became a three-way.
You're the envy of half the people.
You know how it goes, you know.
Right.
That happens. It's just one of those things.
Did you ever?
Things that happen in life.
Yeah. Did you ever like finish a tattoo with someone that you thought was really cool, and they really didn't like it? And they sort of rebelled against you for?
I wouldn't say. I mean, there's been stuff where people weren't totally thrilled, but I found a way to fix it up.
Oh, okay.
Make it more, you know.
So you would adjust to their.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have a reputation for doing what I want, but that's not actually true. I like people to think they have to let me do whatever I want, because that gives me the trust and the freedom I need.
Right.
And then I pick their brains, find out what they actually want, but I have the freedom now to interpret it my own way.
Right.
So that's the process for me. Is
right.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't be coming to you, and you know, if they didn't already kind of know what they were in for and what the idea was, you know, who you are.
Right.
Mr. Paul, is it a big difference between women and men's skin-wise, like the texture?
Oh, women have better skin across the board. Yeah, for sure.
Better in what way?
Well, the cells are stacked differently. Like
it's more welcoming.
More like this than this, I guess, and it's easier to tattoo. It holds the ink better. Right. Female skin is usually far superior than male skin, for the most part. you know, and genetically, you know, it's
That's
just,
really interesting.
Yeah. I love, female skin is the best. I love doing like large tattoos.
And pain-wise, are ladies
They
stronger
handle
than
it better.
men's?
I couldn't have a kid. Even if I could have a kid, I couldn't have a kid. You know, I mean, the idea of popping a watermelon out of your ass
Oh my
is
God. Oh my God.
not for me.
So what you mean is we are more
you're built
stronger.
for pain. Yes,
we're built
absolutely.
for pain, and we take
No
better
question
the tattoos.
about it. No
Right.
question about it.
I like that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you very much, Mr.
Thought you'd
Paul.
like to hear
Some
that.
people accuse
Girl
you of
power.
being a feminist.
Yeah, I am a
Is that
feminist.
true?
Oh, I love women. I know some really hot ones.
Paul, as you're looking at your work, has your work grown or changed over the
I
last
hope so,
25
man.
years? Do you have perspective on how that might be? How it has changed? or grown?
Well, yeah, more complicated. Fits the body better. Better dimension, just refinement, I guess. But also, I play more with like layers of transparency now.
What does that mean?
More layers of gray in the tattoo, like strips of smoke that you can see the tattoo through, and depth and that sort of thing. I think I'm better at that now than I used to be.
But the content, you're talking about technique.
Right.
That's descriptive.
Content?
But content has that evolved
As
significantly?
well, right.
Yeah, you know, I don't do as much like anti-religious stuff unless they ask me to, because I've said all I have to say, you know, and unless someone says I want the Pope disfigured or Christ on a stick, you know, even then I'll make sure they're ready to wear it, because that kind of stuff is pretty aggressive. And if it's, there was a time
And
when
what
that
if you
stuff
change
was
your mind?
kind of trendy,
Right.
you know.
Or you are a
And-
newborn.
Yeah, you know, especially if you're young. I mean, it's not my place to judge, and it's not my place to tell people whether they're going to regret something or not. It's not for me to decide. But if I feel there's a possibility that you're going to regret your decision, it's more a matter of I don't really want to be a part of what I think is going to be a mistake.
Right.
I don't want to put my name on it, and I don't want to be responsible for your fuck up in your life. As a responsible tattooer, I have a ethical responsibility to make sure my clients are making the right decisions that we can both live with, you know.
Right.
This is about me too, not just your tattoo, but you know, we have to be able to truly
Be happy
collaborate.
with it, right.
So if I feel somebody's not really, you know, like a
Prepared.
satanic tattoo,
Right.
I want a satanic tattoo. That's cool. Prove to me you're ready to wear it. you
Right,
know?
right, because you're going to change your mind,
Yeah,
especially if you're very young, right?
Right.
I have noticed that you have been tattooing more and more older people lately, like people after their 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
They would like now to wear a tattoo, and they are convinced this is what I want to wear. It's interesting, right? Must be interesting to you to have now more of the older generations coming and asking for a tattoo.
I just finished a bodysuit on a client, a friend of mine, Bill Champion. We did from his knees to his neck.
Wow. But front and back?
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
How long did
And,
that take? How long did that take?
Well,
I
he
think
lives
over the course of
far,
like 8
so-
years.
Oh, I
A couple times a year, sitting or two,
Right.
you know.
I see.
That still seems extremely fast for that amount of work.
Yeah, well,
Right, yeah.
you know, I do a full back in like 8 to 10 hours, so I'm pretty fast.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, he was. Well, it's. And he did it start as a full body, or it grew?
No, it started with his first tattoo at age late 50s. Did his first tattoo at a convention on his shoulder, upper arm, and
He decided
I told
to
him, I said, you know, you're going to get addicted, right? So I'll see you for the next tattoo, you know, just hit me up. And he just wanted one, you know. I'm like, whatever, man, you know. Then it was balancing it out with his other arm, so he had some balance. And then it was like the chest, and then the stomach, and then the back, and then the thighs, and like, you know, just kept escalating. Fortunately, I get a hunch, and I know when someone's going to go that way. So I always plan my tattoos just for that, like. Everything I do, I can build on later and connect with something else. Because if there's one thing I hate, it's kitsch. It's like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like randomly put it there.
And it's superficial.
In this place, right.
And it's a superficial.
Like for example, in this tattoo that you are going to start now, you are going to do that. Actually, you leave the opportunity for continuing the work in the rest of the arm, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this is, I'm not going to tattoo all this today.
Right.
But it's basically a spine.
Right.
And the ribs are coming around, which will have dimensions, so they'll roll around his arm. It's going to be more of a biomechanical spine, but you can see the motion of the spine here,
right,
and the ribs following it. And encased behind the ribs, this circle here that you can't really see yet, is the Higgs boson with trails of smoke, transparent smoke coming off it, flowing behind the ribs and up the arm and down the arm.
Oh my God, I can't wait to see these.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
Can we skip to the part where it's done?
Right. Can we fast forward?
Yeah, I think the back of the arm we can worry about later. As far as what we add in there, I don't need to draw that now because it's more background, although...
So how long, if you were to complete it today, I know you said you can't, how long would it take?
Well, an arm, when you open it out flat, it's pretty much the size of a back piece.
Right.
So I'd say a sleeve like this, without counting the top, 6 to 8 hours, maybe.
Wow.
7 hours, something like that. I know better once I get rolling, but, you know, this is a very loose freehand sketch that isn't going to make much sense to anyone but me, so.
Someone just asked a question, sort of changing the subject. Do you, you were talking a lot about cars before. Do you have any hot rods?
Not currently. I got a bike. I got a 85 Wide Glide Ape hanger. I used to be a Firebird guy. I've had, like, over the years, all kinds of Firebirds, usually 67, 68.
Wow.
And that's one of my favorite pony cars, you know.
Do you ride your bike?
Not as much as I'd like. I have to keep it in Jersey because I hate riding in the city.
Oy. Yeah.
It's a nightmare here.
Total nightmare.
So when I'm able to get out to Jersey and go for a little ride on some country roads, I take advantage of the opportunity.
Somebody also asked, going back to your early years as a tattoo artist, the first one you ever did, if you can remember, were you nervous when you started? Was it kind
Started tattooing? Or
yeah, the first tattoos you did.
The first one I did, my hand was like this.
Yeah.
You know, I even like bounced the needle in the cup and damaged the needles without realizing it. Oh, God. Then I go back to the tattoo, and the needles were like crochet needles, and they hooked the skin. So the skin was just bouncing back and forth with the needle, you know.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, something's wrong, boss, you know. And he's like, yeah, change your needles. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Wow.
How long did it take you to get comfortable?
I was making money in 2.5 months.
Right.
When from my first tattoo that I did, 2.5 months later,
Was
I had
that
been
a
working on
Tasmanian
the
devil?
public. So.
Was your first tattoo a Tasmanian devil?
No, my first tattoo was one of my own designs, actually. 3 or 4 skulls wrapped in thorns on a forearm on a buddy of mine.
Wow.
Did a bunch of free stuff and, you know.
Just getting going.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, now you're such a leader and a kind of a master and a teacher. It's hard to imagine in some ways you as the young apprentice. You were
my early work was scary bad, yeah. I, you know, yeah, I come a long way. I can say that much.
Were you working at somebody else's studio?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Tattoo Factory in Butler, New Jersey. Ernie White was my teacher.
Was he a good guy?
Yeah, he was. He's the one who really drilled into me the ethical part of it, you know.
Oh, wow.
See, a lot of these kids today are not learning anything ethical.
Right.
They're just picking up kits or getting improper apprenticeships, and they don't understand that it's not really that cool to tattoo the face of an 18-year-old, you know. They're not taught about.
There is an important value of this old school responsibility, right? That they teach you that they used to have before.
Yeah.
Yes. Say a little bit more about what the ethical rule.
Well, you know, tattooing comes from carnies and criminals. You know, that's our history. And tattoos were always considered undesirable. If you had your hands or face or neck tattooed, you were straight out of jail and you weren't getting a job or any respect at all, you know. So, yeah, basically, coming from that place, tattooers were generally would shy away from tattooing your face or your hands. It was generally like a given in any tattoo shop that we don't do hands or faces, you know. So that's where I come from. But back then, it wasn't as acceptable, tattooing. So there was a real straight-up reason for it. Now you got SoundCloud rappers treating their faces like desks from grade school. Jeez. You know, whatever you're into. But like, it ain't for me. If you're gonna get something on your face, at least have it look good. Why get shit tattooed on your, of all places on your body? You want shitty work? It's your face.
Well, we're going to see later.
That is a very interesting question that I'm sure a lot of people would like to know. You have a very strong rule about not tattooing people in certain places, like the face, the neck, the hands, unless they are heavily tattooed already.
Right. Like, I won't do your hand if it's your first tattoo.
Right.
If your arm is not heavily tattooed, I'm not doing your hands.
Right.
You know? It shouldn't be your first tattoo.
And you always have
And I know
in
I'm an
mind-
old timer, and you know times have changed and all that, but I still know plenty of employers that'll look at you, and if your hands are tattooed, they're not going to hire you.
Right.
And as long as it's that way,
right. So
then,
you make sure
know,
that the person has, like, for example, the complete conviction that they want this tattoo, and that professional-wise is not going to damage their lives.
Right, right. Well, you know, they got to keep in mind, I know the customer's always right and everything, but, you know, at the same time, this is me doing my art and my name on it, and I'm doing the best job I can for a number of reasons, including my own reputation. So, like, that's why I don't really want to be a part of people's mistakes, because I don't want to be considered unethical or unresponsible.
You don't want to be responsible for that. Yeah,
you know.
So somebody else just asked on Instagram if you're planning on being at the Golden State.
You know, I'm not sure yet.
In San Francisco.
Marco just asked me if I'm coming, and I haven't really decided with my schedule yet, so it's kind of up in the air. I'm in the next week or so. I'll make an announcement, or you know, or be able to answer that.
I guess
better.
your San Francisco fans are wondering, you know.
Right. Mr. Paul, another question from Instagram. Do you still use coils?
Once in a while. I'm pretty, I'm having fun with these pens now.
Right. You've been using them
I'm
for a
not
while
against
now.
coils at all. It's just there's a precision with a rotary pen that I can't get with a coil. So I'm actually faster with the rotary.
So it's more like a question of taste, or
Nah, the way you work, it's more a question of how you work and
your style.
what type of machine lends itself better to your style, your technique, I mean.
Also, a question just came through. Boy, the social media feed is going crazy.
Awesome.
With all kinds of people saying how much they love the show and all kinds of questions.
Did we make it to Instagram?
Yeah, we're on Instagram.
We are on Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh,
So somebody just asked if you can think, what was the strangest or the most memorable first experience tattooing that you can think of? In other words, someone who came for that first tattoo, which obviously for many people is a huge experience. What's a kind of a cool memory you have of that, or
of someone's first tattoo?
Someone's first tattoo, yeah.
I had, I remember an 81-year-old woman.
Wow.
Came in my early days and wanted "What Now" tattooed on her thigh. She had to roll up her girdle so I could tattoo her. She's like, "No peeking, Sonny." I'm like, "Don't worry, don't worry." But her big thing was, "What now?" And you could reverse it and say, "Now what?" And she's like, all giggly about it. I'm like, "All right, you know."
Wow.
Not a big story, I guess, but.
Mr. Paul, our viewers are wondering if you even have color inked. If you tattooed with color.
Color right there. Intended to do a color tattoo soon.
Right.
Actually, if anyone wants to experiment with me, I'm looking to do a color tattoo. Wow, I need freedom to do what I want to do, but
Feel free to throw some color in this if you want. Like, go for it.
So
whatever you want, man. I'm down with that.
In that note, I wonder,
Whatever you
Jason.
want. Yeah.
So I know you guys are very close friends for a long time, but how did it happen? How did you meet, and how did you ended up under the needle today?
Yeah, right. Well, I don't remember who introduced us. It had to have been Chad Gray.
I think it
was Chad Gray. Yeah. I was working at Epic Records. I was their I was Mudvayne and Hell Yeah's product manager, which is the person who handles their marketing and all of that kind of stuff. And Chad introduced me. I think we came over and just hung out once when he was in town one time, way before I hired him to do the art for the Mudvayne self-titled record. And then I think that process really was where we got to know each other the most.
Yeah, we worked pretty closely on that project.
Yeah, going back and forth and talking a lot about, you know, he needed information from, you know, our manufacturing plant about the capabilities of the ink, and we discussed a lot about how the blacklight ink, you know, how many levels it could have, how much depth it could have, how many transparencies I think it could have. And so we worked back and forth a lot doing different tests and through that, and then we threw a party here at the old location for the release of it. And I think just through that, he and I just, you know,
it was very brave of you guys to go for something so, you know, like kind of risky, different.
I mean, a little bit. I mean, he's, you know, I knew who he was far before that, you know. So as an artist, you know, his work speaks for itself. So I don't think there wasn't a lot of risk, I think, on my side from whether or not it would look good. I think maybe there was a little risk on, you know, okay, we have deadlines.
The idea to have the black light only to see the work and everything.
It was cool. I mean, that was Chad's idea. It was really Chad's idea. Chad came to the forefront with that, and he's a super creative guy. He spends the majority of his time just thinking up ideas and different things, and so, you know, I know that sounds very simple, but he spends a lot of time being creative.
And it's fantastic that he used his mother as the model for this cover as well.
Yeah.
She's been, you know, like featuring so many of his pieces, paintings, album covers, all kinds of art, even sculptures. And so, yeah, she's the main inspiration as well.
Yeah,
so
it was cool. I mean, it's amazing. When he told me that she was the model, I couldn't even believe
My
it.
mother is modeled for more album covers and
she is.
Well, her hands, if you look at her hands, they're so creepy.
Where are your hands, Paula?
There she is.
Can we take a look at your hands?
Come on. Show me how awesome they are.
Show us your hands.
So Mr. Bun Bun just contacted us from Mixer saying this is the coolest thing he's ever seen in his life.
Cool.
Oh, cool.
Great. Well, thanks, Mr. Bun Bun.
Is Mr. Bun Bun a big shot on Mixer? Or?
Yeah.
Mr. Bun Bun.
Tell the bosses.
I could make a joke about Bun Bun, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep those jokes away.
Yeah.
I want to say hello to Ohio. We have many viewers from Ohio, so hello, Ohio.
Cool. Awesome.
White tattoo on Instagram says, "Come to Brazil to eat barbecue."
Oh, Mr. Paul, you're invited
good,
to Brazil to eat barbecue.
I'm down.
That sounds good. Can we go now?
Yeah, right?
Actually, Mr. Paul has been in Brazil a couple of times and he loves it very much.
You're not going to know what I'm doing here, but you're welcome to go look at it. You'll see the shape of the spine, and the spine is here in the ribs. Higgs boson's right here.
Yep.
Smoke and electricity coming off of it behind the ribs and into the background.
I completely see it.
It'll have a motion for sure.
Yeah, I see it.
But it is
Beautiful.
difficult to make out. But
I'm in.
We won't finish the whole thing today.
Yeah.
But I'll focus on this area. We'll get a section done so you can see what it's going to look like. And then we'll revisit it, you know. We can
Whatever you want to do.
continue on.
I'm easy like...
The thing is I could have done just this for today for the sake of the show. But for the sake of your arm, I really need to design the entire thing. So, you know...
Usually what you do first is the outline, right? You outline the entire piece. So even if you don't finish it today in one session, you can have the outline it and ready.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Whatever you need to do. I'm easy like Wednesday
I think we're
afternoon.
about ready for some pain.
You know, I just say already that's beautiful, Paul. Even as just a magic marker drawing, it's
Yeah, we
beautiful.
could leave it just like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Like, that's like, right? Like,
Let's avoid all the pain, dude.
Someone just, I don't want, I mean, if you want me to ask you questions while you get started,
it's
I'm
fine.
happy.
Yeah.
So someone just asked the question, what advice would you give a young tattoo artist who's just beginning and struggling? What would
Be willing to travel to get a solid apprenticeship. Don't buy a kit out of a magazine and just teach yourself, because you're gonna butcher a lot of people trying.
Wow.
So like, be committed to like moving to where you can learn properly. You know.
And how
that's maybe
does
easier
someone
said than
determine
done,
that?
but-
How does someone determine that?
Well, you know, you shop your portfolio, you find someone that's willing to teach you.
You
You're
have
ready
to
pay
draw a
them
lot?
if it's necessary. Commit time to them, because any shop that's going to teach you how to tattoo is going to want you to be there. They're making an investment in you. You know, so like, it's not a matter of learning and running. It can take years to really master the craft. I see guys doing a 2-month apprenticeship and opening up shops down the street left and right, and it's a shame.
What
but-
about someone burrows deeper into that question, and they're asking, what happens if they're like struggling psychologically, like they're looking to find their own voice as a tattoo artist, and they're what advice can you give someone as the tattoo
Understand that
artist?
tattooing, out of other artistic mediums, tattooing is not just art. There's a technical side to this that you have to know, laws of nature that you have to understand, like the aging process. It's not just picking up a paintbrush and figuring out how to paint. You know, there's a lot of things you need to know, and you got to be willing to pay those dues to learn the basics. I did 3 years of Tasmanian devils and hearts and roses and that sort of thing before I ventured out into anything really truly creative. You know, and I was okay doing it because I knew this was the foundation I needed to really eventually grow and take things to the next level. So I complained here and there, but I was willing to learn those basics the right way.
And burrowing even deeper into that, somebody asks a bigger question, which is, what advice would you give somebody who's just struggling psychologically, not as a tattoo artist, but as a human, who's having, is there any kind of...
Well, that's big.
Yeah, I know.
Fix yourself, you crazy motherfucker.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Talking about that, there is an extremely interesting question about, do you get creative blockages? Do you have periods in your life where you can't
Not
paint,
anymore.
draw?
Maybe on a particular piece sometimes, but honestly, I've patterned everything towards eliminating artist block. My environment plays a big role. Like the room that we're in is designed so that I don't get artist block. The environment you create in is very important to that. Artist block is simply your left brain interfering with your creative side and not letting you be creative because it's in charge at the moment. So if you get artist block, the thing to do simply is perhaps a bit of meditating, getting in your art space, sketching, contour drawing, just something to kind of bring out your creative side,
Also, like make the environment conducive to that,
Conducive
like
to-
the music with
yeah.
no lyrics and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I listen to music that doesn't have any lyrics because listening to lyrics, even like listening to me talk right now, is really a left brain activity that you got to understand. Your left brain and your right brain don't work at the same time. It's one or the other. So if you're in a left brain dominant mode, like, everyday life, getting through the day and that sort of thing, it's going to be more likely that you find artist block. So you got to create your environment to really be conducive to your creativity. So, if you were into unicorns, you'd paint your walls with clouds and dumb shit like that. But
Unicorns!
As an example.
Yeah, that's what Jason really wanted. He wanted a unicorn on his arm.
I already
Yeah,
hit
we
one
wanted a
in here.
unicorn
Yeah.
with a rainbow.
But no, he wants us on his butt.
Yes.
Oh, I want a unicorn on his butt.
And
We had a
Hello
special
Kitty.
on butts this week, so.
Yeah, right. And he wants nice little kitties,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
on his groin.
Obviously, you can tell, you know, because of his style and everything.
Yeah.
Because he wants people to pet his kitties.
Roy Pentagram!
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, Roy.
So I have a question. It's interesting what you said about the left and the right brain, but you seem to be able to have both operating at the same time because you're talking to us while you're creating.
Well, I'm a special case. I mean, I'm crazy, but
tell us something we don't know.
Yeah. There's a brain dominance test you can take. I'm sure there's some online, but
Are those on BuzzFeed?
I don't know. I don't know BuzzFeed, but no, there's some legitimate shit out there. And I took one time and I scored a perfect 50-50. So as
50
far as
left, right, you mean?
Yeah. The perfect brain is really a balance between your left and your right.
Right.
More so that, you know, artists want to be all right brain, all creative. But it's impossible for one. You
Can't
can be
get
right
anything
brain.
done.
The right brain dominant people are generally flaky. Musicians, artists are generally flaky because they're more right brain dominant. They spend more time in their right brain being creative. So logical things like reasoning and responsibility and tend to go by the wayside a bit more.
Yeah.
That's a much better version of what you and I were talking about earlier.
Exactly. No, exactly. Exactly. Well, you need, you know, as someone who spent most of my life as an artist too, I mean, you can't, when one is in ascendancy over the other, the work suffers. You need some, I don't know if it's 50-50 exactly, but you need a...
Well, 50-50 means basically you can really go back and forth at will.
Right.
You know, when I need to be left brain, I'm left brain. When I need to be right brain, I'm right brain.
Right.
They work together more homogeneously than if I was right brain dominant. My reasoning skills would be less, and you know, so I'm fortunate in that department. I think.
Doesn't hurt at all. It's cool.
I know, right? It's so
Not at
cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm lying. Woo! Feeling good. Feeling good.
But Paul is so gentle. Look how gentle he's
He's
doing.
so gentle.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is that he's very fast.
Yes.
He's very fast.
Yes.
So,
Shockingly fast.
right.
Yeah.
He doesn't mess around. But that doesn't hurt, Jace.
Not at all. It's all good. I'm not sweating either at all.
Right.
Don't worry about it.
Mr. Paul, we have a question about Russell Undertaker.
The Undertaker, yeah.
How is he in
I haven't
life?
seen Mark in years.
In real life is the question. How is he
He's a
in
very
real
cool
life?
guy. Kind of quiet, but you know, again, I haven't seen him in a very long time. But very normal guy, really cool. You know, he had the darkness in him outside of the ring. He's definitely a dark dude. But when I tattooed him that one time, I'd met him a few times beyond that, but when I had tattooed him, he was pretty quiet. Of course, you know, like I said in my head in the box story, he was a little freaked out, but not so much freaked out, just really didn't want to be a part of my antics.
So for the people that didn't get to hear your story of the head in the box,
Oh, no, I can't tell you. You can go
what's in
on.
the box? What's in the box?
What's in the box, man?
You want to tell it?
Do you want to tell it, or do you?
It's already out there. I'm sure most people watching already heard it. It's on YouTube.
Yeah. Ink Mag's channel,
Ink
right?
Mag's channel, yeah. Craziest client stories, yeah.
Oh,
Have you done a lot of wrestlers?
Not really. I don't do a lot of
Undertaker.
athletes. I don't really, you know, I'm hard to get to, so who knows, you know, who's interested in what, but,
Hard to get to in what sense? Hard to find? Or
yeah.
Hard to get an appointment. God
yeah,
knows you're hard
getting
to
an
get
appointment
Right.
and everything. I'm not totally excited. I mean, I am, but
It's not like you have a shingle outside and people.
you know,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a hidden cult. It's like a speakeasy during the Prohibition.
Right.
You have to like know where it is and word of mouth and
Right.
knock on the door and say, "Paula sent me."
Yeah. What's the favorite piece you've done on a musician?
A musician, probably back of Kerry King's head.
Oh, that's pretty
That's
iconic.
held up really well.
It's pretty
I'm really pleased
iconic
with that.
also.
Yeah. With musicians, for me, it's more about the collaboration, you know, because like if it's a band like Slayer, of course, there's a band that inspired me as an artist from my youth, you know.
Right.
So to get an opportunity to collaborate on some art with people that inspired me so much in my early days really is a full circle kind of
pretty amazing.
satisfaction, I guess, or
I bet.
reward, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Like working with your heroes. Like
Yeah,
when you have the
I remember
opportunity to work with
tattooing.
your heroes.
My boss would leave and left me to manage the shop, and I'd put Slayer on the radio, and I'd sit there and go, someday I'm going to tattoo Slayer, you know. And
How that happened? How did you end up being
met him on
so
tour.
close
My
friends
first
with?
tour was '94. I went out with Pantera, Sepultura, and Biohazard. That was my first one, and that's when I first met Phil Anselmo.
What do you mean your first tour? You went on tour with rockers?
I used to tour with bands all the time.
What'd you do with them?
Tattooed backstage.
So you
Living the
went on
life.
tour with them, and they
So
were
you don't
like
go
a
and
resident
sing
tattoo
with them?
artist?
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you go
Yeah,
on
they
the stage
took me
and
on-
sing, Mr. Paul?
I've been out on stage, unfortunately, but not to sing, fortunately.
That's not true. You sang with
Not on stage. I sang on a couple albums for friends, but
Sepultura, no?
yeah, but I didn't get on stage and sing live in front of people. That ain't ever gonna happen.
Are you a good singer?
No, I can't sing at all.
His daughter is...
His harmony vocals were amazing.
Really?
That song, yeah.
Wow, so
getting
his
called out,
harmony
man.
vocals are amazing. That is fantastic.
Well, I'm not singing live anyway.
Wow.
That's
Well,
funny.
you have an
So-
amazing daughter who sings
She sings for me.
so
yes.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yes.
So that tour-
It's 7 chords.
So that tour, were you out with Pantera or with Biohazard? Which band did you go with? Or all of them?
Pantera.
They was all together on one tour.
Yeah, but I mean, like, who brought you?
Oh,
Was it-
Sepultura. My
Sepultura
first tour
brought
was
you.
Sepultura. Yeah, I tattooed Igor at a convention, and he invited me out on tour, and we made friends.
That's cool.
Yeah, so. And then I would bus hop from band to band, you know.
Right.
Is it okay if we put
You had your gear, everybody wanted A?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Paul, are you going to be in Hell City, Columbus, Ohio?
Derb just called me about that. I'll have an answer this week, I think.
You will have an
haven't been
answer.
around it. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa.
What's that? What are you doing?
Typo.
Don't mess with my show, kid.
Yo, I'm
As a matter of fact,
platforms right now.
This ain't tabby time, all right?
can we turn the... yeah, I think it is Tabby time. Can we turn the camera on Tabby for a second?
Yeah, let's visit that little
No, let's go... Can somebody
The little
come over
bug.
and Tabby?
that little bug.
Somebody come over to Tabby. And I want to introduce you to Paul's daughter.
Right.
This is Tabitha. You Tabitha Booth?
Tabitha
Yes, I'm
Booth.
Tabitha Booth.
And she is working social media. So, why don't you say hello to the good people around the world?
The microphone?
Hello, good people around the world.
Do you have a mic? No. Okay, here we have a
The
mic right
microphone
here.
is here.
Okay,
Yes.
I got a mic right here.
Tabby,
Okay.
say hello.
Hello,
Go back.
people of the world. I've been typing to you.
So I have some questions to ask you, Tabitha.
So this is Paul's
You're a
only
singer,
daughter.
right? You're a singer.
Yes.
You're a composer, a musician, and also.
Yes.
And so I'm going to ask the question. Are we getting your mic ready here?
I have the wrong mic.
Okay, now we got that. Okay, so now she's on. So this is Tabitha, and you're a musician and a composer, a singer. So you're Paul's daughter. What was it like having this man as your father?
Be nice.
I'm afraid. Don't be nice. Don't be
Where should we
nice.
start? Let's see. Well, it all started with a tattoo he got on his arm when he was 19.
You don't remember
of my name.
that.
I do remember.
No, you were.
I remember.
When you were born, your father wanted to get your name tattooed on his arm.
Yes, he got my name tattooed on his arm. My
Right.
name on like tiger skin with roses.
Right, very 80s, very 80s aesthetic, very.
Say, you do something nice and you just get poked fun at.
What? No, it's so nice. It's the sweetest thing ever. You know, because you have to be, you know, like a deeply sensitive person to be able to, you know, bring the truth to the skin. That's the thing. That's what's happening here.
How you doing?
So Paul, so your dad.
That was
is,
nice, right?
Your dad is a really unique artist, but
Yes.
he's an outside artist in the sense that
Full face.
he's not a conventional artist doing portraits that end up in a museum or, you know.
No
he's-
yet.
Yeah, not yet, but you know what I mean. He's a renegade artist, world renowned, but it's
Yes.
not straight up the middle. Did you grow up with that knowledge that your dad was, you know, this great artist but kind of unique and special and a kind of a cult hero?
I grew up with the belief that you can't look at Jason's face.
Don't look at my face.
yeah, it's really funny.
Look over here at me.
I grew up with the belief that you you can
I'm just gonna outline
accomplish
to
what
about
you set
here
your
and
mind
then we'll
to
work
as an
through
artist. That
Whatever you
it's
want.
that it's a real
I
thing.
can take it.
'Cause I can-
Maybe I take that for
I'm
granted.
off camera, so I'm
Let me know the
we
plan.
kind of
allowing
find
myself
that
to.
it's difficult to pursue a career in the arts. It's a very controversial thing in mainstream society. If
Totally.
it's a good idea or a bad idea, but when you're an artist and you really believe that I'm an artist too, so you know, it's something like I was meditating on recently, like, why do I sing? Why do I do this? 2 years, like, thinking about why I even do it. It's really important to know that as an artist, and he provided me an example that you can just do it,
Follow your dreams.
but
follow
you
your
have to put the work in, and
Right.
you have to be honest about that. You have to really work. It doesn't just happen.
Gabi, so you started
chord.
very young playing piano. Since you were very young,
Yeah,
you started playing
yeah.
piano.
Yeah, I
You are
played
an
piano.
amazing pianist. You taught piano for a while.
I did.
And then suddenly you discovered this amazing voice. So it was like a process, like first the piano, guitar, other instruments, and then you.
It was a process to discover that I can say I'm a singer, or
Yes.
that I feel comfortable saying I'm
That
a
you
singer.
started singing, yeah.
Yeah, I started on classical piano. I moved into guitar and voice. I actually had to overcome some pretty serious stage fright with singing. Super terrified. Totally thought I was going to be a lawyer and not a
Actually,
performer.
there you go, lock it in.
And and then
Does that help?
I don't know. I guess there was something about overcoming the fear that I had to, that I was kind of obsessed with overcoming that, I think.
And was your dad's? Did you share your fears with your father?
I mean, I was busy being a hippie in Portland, you know. I was busy not using cell phones
So
and
you
stuff
were
like that.
being raised by your mom in Portland, Oregon, Portland. Maine?
No, I went to Portland after I finished my BA.
Oh, yeah.
I did grow up with my mom, though. We traveled a lot. I'm like a nomadic hippie, you know, but it was kind of a cool dynamic of traveling and then having the influence from my father and his career. It just like created this perspective of like you can just like go anywhere and like do anything and just pursue art. I didn't really think of art as like my own direction until I was.
Your mom
past
is an
18.
artist also? Is your mom
My
an
mom is a psychiatric nurse in the geriatric ward
Wow. Where? Where?
in New Jersey.
Shut up, Dad. That's amazing.
I got it.
But I think it's important to say also, Tavi, well, your major was also literature, and you have this amazing
Philosophy.
gift for writing and composing your own lyrics and music. Did you develop yourself, like started flowing out of you?
I was a kid who liked to write in my I'll call it a journal. I didn't really do the diary thing, but I did do the
Can I
journal
move to help
thing.
you?
No. Okay.
And when I was about 13, I wrote a fictional poem about a younger brother who died in a car accident and got all mangled, and I got an honorable award or mention or something for it. And a lot of the adults came up to ask me if it was a real story, and it wasn't. But I realized that what I wrote triggered and impacted a strong feeling in people. And I think that sort of like planted continuing writing poetry, which developed into songwriting.
And did you share this stuff with your father?
You're good,
I share
man.
this stuff with my father.
Yeah.
All good.
We've attempted collaborations
and
on
play
lyrics on a couple of his songs, but I don't know.
difficult.
Maybe I'm too much of a hippie. I don't know. Is that
And
what
your dad is definitely not a hippie.
My dad is definitely a hippie. He's
No,
a
I think
satanic
it's
hippie.
actually textural, you know? You got this beautiful voice, real angelic, dark angelic to me, of course, but, and then my music is more textural and gritty, and
Yeah.
I can't find a way to get them to gel, like, you know, I
Yeah.
can't make pretty like you can, so until you figure out how to get your ass dark,
Whatever.
we're stuck.
Right.
Get off all that flower hippie shit. and
I like flowers.
Burying your damn crystals in the yard.
I like crystals.
So yeah, well that would be it. So maybe there is a successful collaboration in the future. Because
Yeah,
you're-
maybe.
They already
we both
collaborated.
look forward
I
to
know, but they're
collaborating.
saying
We
that
collaborate
it's
a little bit.
Right,
Yeah.
We'll
right.
do something.
They're
We
saying
will.
that
Inevitable.
We will.
your polarities. You have a kind of there's a polarity.
Yeah, I think
I
also
think we're
they,
both
they,
deep
they,
people,
they are very much alike.
right? We're
And at the
deep in
same
the void
time-
somewhere. I think that's right to say. But we talk about like diminished chords, you know, that works, or the devil's tritone. For any of you music
Yeah, I'm still learning all that
enthusiasts out there.
stuff.
Yeah.
So Tavi, you love to improvise as well. I remember the
That's
first
my
time.
favorite, yeah.
The first time that I
Improvising.
saw you performing, you did this amazing, out of your heart, very sensible, very full of love and energy concert for your father.
For his birthday, yeah.
For his birthday.
The Raven.
You were
The
doing
Raven.
the Raven,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Edgar Allan Poe's poem.
Yeah.
And you sang it in front of everybody, but it was like it was not really prepared. It was
No, I was actually pretty upset because I planned on spending several hours planning out the chord progression for the Raven and understanding the meter, and I really didn't know the poem at the time, the Raven. But my father is incredibly difficult to buy presents for
Right.
for like a birthday or something.
Why?
Because he's an evil bastard. There's nothing on the market for the man. he invents the market.
You go to any
I have to buy
terrible
from
shovel
him.
and get me. Yeah, I'd be happy with anything you got me.
Let's not go there.
Let me just pillage the graveyard. Yeah, no problem. So then I thought, well, you know, I'm exploring singing and songwriting. Maybe I can put music to The Raven. I knew it was a popular poem. And so that's what I did. So even without the prep time, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to wing it. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? And I brought my guitar and I just noodled around on 2 strings and just sang it, and it went over pretty well.
It was
and that
fantastic.
was a turning point.
Unforgettable.
Yeah, for me too.
I'm gonna have to, once I'm done with this outline,
And it was
I
so
gotta
cool.
change
I
my
was so
chord.
excited because
I mean, we can stop any point you want to.
Right.
Yeah, so that was cool.
It's getting to be
Was he
annoyance.
always honest with
Yeah,
you
really.
about his feelings about your work?
I mean, you'd have to ask him, but I take his word for it. You know that
Yeah.
he means it. You
So he
know,
was
when
critical
when he
sometimes
says,
and supportive sometimes.
Well,
and always supportive, but
I mean, You know, my father's not really someone who sugarcoats things, hence the subject matter of his tattoos.
Right.
For me, as a singer, he definitely is supportive and constructive, especially about, you know, how to approach sharing it with people, even, you know, and like, you know, drawing like a line, like a, what do you call it, setting a bar, you know, of like, they were talking about it before about striving for perfection.
Yep.
You know, and so same thing, like social media makes it really easy to just throw anything out there and
Right.
and like not really setting a bar because you're so excited and you just want to share it. But then you kind of rob yourself of like challenging yourself to like really strive.
Totally.
You know, and separate yourself.
So Paul, what do you feel like your responsibility is to Tabby about her work? I mean, you know, I presume you want to be supportive, but you also want to be honest. I mean, how do you?
Well, I tell her like it is. I give her lots of sound advice she doesn't pay attention to.
Oh,
and,
whatever.
You know, that's part of being a dad. Letting your kids fuck up and, you know, learn the hard way. Because she's a booth, so she has to learn the hard way.
Yes, I have to learn the hard way.
I understand that. So
Carve my own path.
the hardest thing for me is to know she's making a mistake and let her make it so she learns from it. To stand there and watch your kid do something the wrong way. Not that everything you do is wrong.
Thanks.
But from a parental point of view, no, I mean, you know, we're going to always disagree on stuff. But, you know, like the correct way to bury a crystal in the yard. And
I knew it. I knew he knew.
Someone's asking you a question. The last one.
My
On
friends.
On YouTube. What is it?
Oh, let's hear a song? Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Dad, I brought my guitar. But I brought my electric, so then we have to plug in and all that. I didn't bring my acoustic.
I think maybe that's for next time.
next time,
Next time.
And we'll plan on something. We'll do something.
The boss man say next time. It's you've heard it here live on streaming TV.
Is there an opportunity for your dad to sing background vocals?
Of course. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Me?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Well,
No one calls
whatever.
Sepultura up and be like, hey, look what your backup harmony vocalist is doing now. Sing it with me.
It's great.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah, so this has been cool. I hope you guys have been enjoying.
Yeah, get back
Everything.
to writing chat room shit. will
I have
you?
work to do.
Back to
Thank
work.
you, Tabby. We'll be back to you later.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Tabby. We'll be
Good
back to you
talking to
later. Thank you. So let's go back to what we've been watching.
Oh, it's good. I'm totally fine.
How you feeling, Jason?
I was taking a little bit of a nap there for a minute, so it's cool.
So, Paul, can you turn up the pain a little bit?
No, let's not do that. We're good. We're absolutely good on the pain.
Really?
We went through the what is that? It's not an armpit. What is that?
You did?
What is that?
Ditch.
Ditch. Went through the ditch. Alrighty. Yeah, I mean, it all hurts, but that's the point, right?
Yeah. That's what makes tattoos special, right?
Good times.
Yeah.
Outlining the whole thing.
I think so. Let's see what I missed. Yeah.
That's a fun spot, too.
Can you describe the feeling?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly the feeling of quite a few very small needles moving quickly and being drugged against your skin.
Oh, I see. Uh-huh.
It is...
It is
It's
literally what it is.
Yeah, it's an interesting feeling because when you're getting a tattoo, especially when you're sitting for a couple of hours, you go kind of in waves. Like it starts off and you're like, oh, okay, that hurts. That's cool. And then you get numb for a little while. And then your skin gets really tired of being numb and kind of experiencing that. And then, so it goes back to hurting for a while, and then you go back to being kind of like numb and used to it. And then my experience is that when you hit about hour 3 or 4, it starts vibrating your bones.
Oh, shit.
And then you're like, I'm kind of done. But that's my experience, at least. Does that sound right, Paul?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's a very fascinating experience. I think a lot about, when you're getting tattoos, I think a lot about the human brain and how it works, because you know, it's something that you have this intense pain that's happening, and later you think, oh yeah, that hurt, but you don't really remember the pain in the same way. It's a strange thing with pain. Like, it seems to kind of go away after a certain while. You understand that it hurt, but you don't understand how it hurt. You really can't feel it anymore until you do it again, and then you
I
go.
have a little technical issue I got to fix. It takes me a minute, so I'm taking a quick break. If you guys want to find something to do for 5 minutes, can you interview?
Yeah. Sure. Maybe we'll go down. You want to? Is it time to? Time
see
to
the
go
basement
downstairs? Maybe.
Well, there's no one down there today. Everyone's off for Halloween.
Oh, they're off for Halloween.
But if you want to check out the decor, you can do that.
No. Let's not. Maybe we should talk to your mom.
Talk to Chris, maybe.
Oh, Chris. Where's Chris?
So Chris is supposed to have my mic.
Andreas.
Oh, Andrea's here. Why don't you guys talk to Andrea? He's here for the guest spot.
Andrea,
so.
they're doing. Is he working downstairs?
He's going to be.
Right here.
Oh, he's up here. Okay, let's go out to talk to Andrea. Thanks, Debbie. Goddamn. You want to go outside?
There you go.
We're going to go outside. Andrea.
Pretty freaking incredible. Yeah.
I'm Gordon. Nice to meet you. Is there enough light out here, or should we over here?
I have to find a cable.
Okay.
So I also need a microphone. Thank you. Speak slow, so.
Right there.
Paolo, talk to him.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi.
So you're from Milano,
From Milan, yeah.
and
I haven't heard a thing out of
tattoo
my
artist.
Yeah.
Well, your
You
earpiece,
have your
because
own
they select
studio
who's
in,
getting
Yeah.
transmitted.
in Milan.
Yeah, near Milan in Loire. Yeah.
Yeah. And tell us about your studio.
Sorry?
Tell us about your studio.
Yeah, I started in '94 to make a tattoo, and my preferred style is realism, black and gray and color, both. I love make a portrait, wildlife, these subjects that I prefer, yeah.
Say that one more time. I'm not sure we all understood that. Talk about your subjects one more time.
Yeah, you want that I show you my subject or explain?
Well, how could you show us? Do you have something to show us?
Yeah, I have an iPad with my...
We have the iPad here.
Yeah.
Would the iPad show up on the screen? Would the iPad show up on the screen?
Yeah.
On the screen, would it show up?
We have some of these amazing tattoos. Let me get more light here. Can you get more? Oh, well, how do you get? Oh, sorry. Right. So you can.
Yeah. This is my tattoo.
Can you pick this up? Are we picking this up? Okay, good. Okay, so let's talk about these tattoos, Andrea.
Yeah. What I say before that I prefer make realism, not just realism. I do, and I make the color and black and gray portrait. I love a lot strong contrast when I do a tattoo.
Wow. Where is this on somebody's body?
This is my friend, and he's a famous rapper in Italy. And
This is on his...
Wow, that is unbelievable.
Wow.
my creation, and
Can you see this? How amazing this is? This is amazing.
thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank
you have to tilt it a little more, like this.
Yeah, sometimes the people ask, leave me free for make this. You know, he say me just a subject, but after I can, it's my creation.
So they give you the idea, and they also allow you to
Yeah,
do your own.
just idea, and after leave me free for make a whole, I think.
How long did it take you to make this tattoo?
About 16 hours is in 3 sessions, yeah.
3 sessions.
Yeah, yeah. It's long.
This
It's
is
very elaborated, very detailed.
Yeah,
extraordinary.
I love 3-dimensional tattoo, and not just. I love try a good position for this. I think that is very important. Try a good position for make it three-dimensional tattoo.
Sure.
You know.
Let's show something else.
Wow.
Can you see this? This is extraordinary. So this one is a little bit more Paul Booth-like.
Yeah. For me, as an inspiration, Paul Booth, when I was younger, I try a lot of inspiration from him, yeah.
When did you first meet Paul?
Sorry?
When did you first meet Paul?
Okay, Paul, I know when I really young, his name, but him don't know me, you know. But I know Paul in Australia about 6 years ago. Because we make a seminar together in Australia, and finally I meet him.
So you knew of him, his reputation, but you didn't meet him till only 6 years ago, when you were already a famous artist yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Andrea, I would like to ask you if you have a preference for color or black and gray.
I think I don't want to focalize my work just in one way, you know.
Right.
I prefer make both.
Both are good.
Yeah. Black and gray and color, all. Yeah,
Good.
I prefer. And this is on neck knee, and I take about 10 hours for make this.
Wow.
Not simple neck knee.
Right.
To make a tattoo on neck knee.
It's been so painful there.
And
Oh wow, this is a chest.
This is another piece that I love.
this is
Chest piece.
somebody's chest.
Right.
Chest piece.
It's extraordinary.
It's my creation. This.
It's amazing how you do the hands, huh?
Oh, thank you.
Hands are very
Thank
impressive.
you so much. Thank you.
And the person who you did this for, what did they tell you they wanted?
No, he don't tell me before.
He don't tell you
leave
anything?
me. No, he leave me. He wanna just a piece from me. He don't wanna. He don't say nothing before. Just this is the position. Okay, go.
Wow.
So you get a lot of
Yeah.
freedom.
Yeah, I think that for make a very good work, it's important the relationship with your clients. You know, I think that is very important that respect your work and live freedom for make a tattoo.
And what brings you to New York? You're working here at Paul's studio
Yeah,
As a guest artist.
as a guest artist, yeah.
it's really, it's an honor for me to stay here. Yeah, it's one of the best studio in the world. Yeah.
It's the second time that you visit us.
Tours.
Oh, the third time.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And so the people who come to you here are people from America, from the U.S., who know about you and make an appointment to see you? Is that what has happened?
From US and the last time from Canada, depends. Yeah, but usually from US.
And tell me, so they write...
I remember that every time that I come here, I make a tattoo a lot Italian guys. I don't know why.
Italians who live here.
Italians who live here. So you, and so how they write you an email and you tell them, oh, I'll be in New York.
Yeah. Or sometimes write to the shop.
To the
Depends.
studio.
They write, yeah.
So you make the announcement that you're going to be in New York, and then they start just making their appointment.
Yeah.
So
How long are you here?
1 week, and tomorrow I leave and go to Bahamas tattoo show. Yeah.
A tattoo show. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you travel around the world for tattoo shows?
Yeah, I love it because I try a lot of inspiration when I traveling.
You try a lot of experimentation?
inspiration.
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 Inspires
Well, you get a lot of inspiration.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
When you travel, you see different things,
Exactly.
different artists.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No.
Wow.
Wow.
Talk about this one.
This is another.
Is this
another-
like a...
No.
Here? No.
In the leg.
Oh, in the leg.
Yeah, in the leg, and it's all black and gray, but I love strong highlights.
Yes.
You know, with the white, and it's my creation. He leave me free for this, but I don't like just one subject. I prefer a composition, you know.
Right.
Does this tell a story, or is this just a
it's
composition?
It's just from my mind, you know.
So I have another question. When you look at this, are you remembering the person?
Absolutely.
You remember the face of the person?
Exactly.
You remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember the experience of putting it on?
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember the people that sometimes is my friend. You know, after the tattoo, become my friend. Yeah.
Well, there's a piece of you with him
Right.
till he dies.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not. You didn't make a painting that he has on his wall. You made a painting that he has on his body.
Right.
Yeah,
Forever.
I think that is the same, painting and tattoos.
Yes.
You know, when you are an artist, it's the same. It changes just the support when you do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the difference is, you can take a painting. You can take this painting down and never look
And
at
take it, right.
Here,
You have to see it over
he has it with him forever.
Forever.
It's profound
It's not forever. It's forever, but just for a life.
for a life.
Because the painting remains
That's true.
eternal.
The painting
There's no-
remains after. That's a very good point.
Right.
It's a
Well,
beautiful.
they say that there is is going to be a solution for that. That you can keep the skin, but
Yeah.
it's
So
a
that's
little scary.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that hand.
You are amazing.
Thank you so
You
much.
are amazing. I have never
Yes, you
seen
are.
anything like this.
Thank you.
Yes, incredible. The detail, the
It's really hard.
Tell us
feeling,
again your name.
expression.
Say your name again for the people.
yeah. Say your name.
My name?
Your name again for everybody here.
Okay, I'm Andrea Afferni from Italy.
Andrea Afferni.
It's difficult.
Afferni.
Yeah,
Afferni.
Yeah.
Afferni. From Milan. Are you from Milan?
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
born and raised in Milan.
Yeah.
And you work in Milan, all over the world.
All
you
over the
work-
world, but my home studio is in Milan. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great city, Milan. I was just there 6 months ago.
I prefer New York.
You do? So do I. Well, why don't you come?
But
Why don't you come?
we love Italy so much, right?
The food is great in Milan. The food
Yeah,
is.
the food is good. Yeah, absolutely.
But well, you can come and stay in New York whenever you want.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So shall we look at one or two more?
I want to show you a couple
Yeah.
more tattoos. Wow, look at those.
This is the story of
Family.
Her family, with two guys and
And a kid. Yeah.
and a kid.
Very nice.
Thank you. This is a
Oh wow.
very big piece.
This is a big one. Huh?
50 hour.
50 hour.
50, yeah.
Right.
A lot,
Yeah, look at
a
the
lot of
detail
work. Yeah.
on that.
This is
That's
hard
amazing.
work. It's not fresh.
Hard.
It's healed.
Healed.
Healed. Healed, yeah. Not fresh. It's
Not
healed
fresh,
already.
yeah.
So, wow, that is amazing.
Say some more.
Fantastic. Yeah. So you had some kitties somewhere there. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow, look
This
at
is
that.
my
There is another
creation. Yeah.
Amazing.
big.
There is a lot of detail. Yeah.
Wow.
You're a beautiful artist.
So beautiful.
Thank you so much.
It's like some kind of like a very classic biomechanical, but
yeah.
very sweet.
This is my
Paola,
drawing.
would you take over for a second?
Yes,
Paola,
of
would you
course.
take over? Because I need to, yeah, thank you.
Yes, of course. Wow. This is amazing. So, Andrea, do you also paint
Yeah.
and draw?
Yeah,
like
I'm lucky because my master is a really important painter in Italy,
Right.
and he explained me a lot of technique for. This is an oil on canvas.
So you started painting first before becoming a tattoo artist?
No, I start 5 years after that. I start to make a tattoo,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
but it changed
It's
my.
beautiful. Those paintings are amazing.
Thank you,
Oh, wow, look at these.
thank you so much.
Sorry, I should move and put you here so
Okay.
you can see it better. Wow, that's so spectacular.
Yeah, I prefer both. It's the same, painting and drawing. This is a drawing.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh wow, the detail is absolutely spectacular.
Thank you.
So do you find that people ask for different tattoos? Like, for example, they ask for different things from Italy to New York. You see a big difference?
I think that here the people leave me free. It's more simple. Try some customer that leave free
Right.
when you make a tattoo. In Italy, it's little bit difficult.
More complicated.
Yeah,
They are more demanding. Or
Yeah, I
like-
prefer the customer here. Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
wow, interesting.
Yeah,
That's very interesting. So
And, for the part of the body is very hard to try something in Italy that, for example, make a head, on the hand. Here is, I think that is more simple.
right, that is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much.
So this is the second time that you are with us for Halloween.
Yeah,
Is this a special date for
I
you?
love stay here for Halloween. It's amazing.
It's
Yeah.
perfect. It's perfect.
nice.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I hope you follow Andrea in his Instagram. He has many beautiful tattoos all the time happening, and he travels a lot. So maybe you are lucky enough to catch up with him in some tattoo convention and get a piece from him.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And ciao Italia!
Ciao ragazzi.
So we want to go see and explore what is happening with Mr. Paul right now. Where is he? Oh, there is Chris. I want to introduce Chris. My goodness. So you already met Jason. I am again Paola Duran. I am very, very happy to be here with you today. Thank you so much for accompanying us in this amazing adventure to be inside the womb, the crazy creative space of Mr. Paul Booth. And, well, Mr. Paul, would you like to introduce Chris?
Yeah. This is my client, Chris Sins, who talked me into tattooing her face.
Right.
It wasn't easy, I'll say, but it's been one of my favorite projects for many years. I've been slowly transforming her into some kind of alien creature, or doing my part anyway. Next come the body mods, the implants, right? And yeah,
Right.
so.
Chris, how did you get into Paul's chair?
It was actually quite hard and long. I want to go to Paul for...
That's what all the girls say. Excuse me.
I'm here.
Oh yeah, earmuffs.
Doctor is listening.
I don't want to go to Paul for well over 10 years. I saw his art in all the tattoo magazines and it stood out. It wasn't the same shit you saw on the shelves, And I like that it was all freehand and, it wasn't some flash picked off the wall. So after emailing him several times and not getting any response, I kind of gave up and I started just getting covered anyway by other artists. And a year or two ago, he was doing a guest spot in LA when I happened to be out there visiting friends. So I shot him an email and he hit me back almost right away. I was like, fuck yes. So it was destiny.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. It has created quite of a stir in Instagram and everywhere. Because a lot of people go like, wow, such a gorgeous face. Why would she tattoo her face, But I think it's more the people that have been admiring the work, how beautiful it looks with your face, and how unique it is. Like there's nothing like that.
Right.
So
And that's the thing with Paul, you're not going to have the same thing on two different people. It's just,
right. That is a good thing.
Yes.
Fantastic. So Mr. Paul is going to be working a little bit today with you.
Today or tomorrow, yes.
Tomorrow he's going to finish your chest.
Well, not finish it, but...
he's going to start it. He's going to
it
start
will never
the
be
chest.
finished.
Right. Excellent. So looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Chris.
I want to take a look real quick at your face, how it healed up. I want to extend the white lines farther.
Yeah.
And they'll be subtle, but they'll look good up close.
The white needs to be subtle.
Well, white is subtle against skin, where black wouldn't be, But we've done enough black now, it's extending the white off of the black,
think maybe darker, like just around
Yeah,
the
yeah.
eye, kind of like shadow out the
That
cheekbone.
sketch that I made, did you like what I did with the eye?
Yeah.
Where it's darker, you know, and
Yes.
kind of coming up?
Yeah, I like
okay.
it. Yeah, keep
So
going.
we're going to do that, and then the white lines, well, the white lines coming halfway, you know, like down the bridge of your nose, like a topographical
This is
map,
absolutely
you know?
unbelievable. All the detail is so delicate and
Got a few
beautiful.
touch-ups too, and I want to get closer to your eye.
Yeah.
So we're going to probably do the Q-tip thing again, and but we'll make it quick. But it has to be right, you know? And then you want your lips done too, right? Yeah, so, all right. All right, I'm going to continue on Jason, and when we reach a finishing point, hopefully we can get to work on your face.
Excellent.
All right.
Excellent. So, Mr. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to rock this. We got the outline done.
Excellent.
Now I can zone out and just do my thing.
Excellent.
Okay, excuse me.
Let me see that arm. Oh my goodness, Jason, that's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
It's pretty great.
That's the skeleton
Yeah.
of the
I was telling
tattoo.
Chris before, it's strange how, like, when the tattoo is happening, you're just like, oh, that hurts so much. But now it's at this point where it's just kind of like a
Start to
ache,
see something.
and I like the ache. Like, the ache is
Oh,
okay.
you
Like,
are
I'm
masochist.
totally
You're
fine
crazy
with the ache.
masochist.
It's great. The initial pain, that's the only problem.
Yeah,
Right.
it's getting through it. But the reward is so much better, you know?
Oh,
when you're all
right.
done and the pain is gone, you've
Yeah.
endured it, you feel, you know, a little empowered, I guess.
I agree.
Right.
Killer.
All is
It's how
beautiful.
fast that went from that marker drawing to this.
To
you know?
this,
Pretty
right.
amazing.
Yeah, that's a good thing that he's very fast, so
Yeah,
it would not be as painful.
yeah. How many has he done on you? I don't even know.
Actually, just one. Why
don't we look at your
He
tattoo?
actually. Oh,
Put you
it's
on the
going to be.
spot.
It's going to be.
You're the host,
It's
so-
going to be difficult to show with this dress, but you can peek a little bit there.
It's a cover-up.
It's a cover-up of a horrible, horrible tattoo I got very young, and so he's very delicate now. It's more me, so I am very happy with it. I hope next show I can show you better. Sorry.
What was it a cover up of?
It was a 8-point star, very solid black, horrible, horrible star.
Wow, and it has
So-
all that like that
He
depth over
he
the.
got he managed to make it into a spiral, and it's amazing what he did. It's just fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the best for
completely
a
different.
reason. That's awesome.
Okay.
All right, what are we doing next?
I don't know.
Okay. The
Scribbling?
witch is moving.
Exciting. It's getting there.
Yeah, well, it's gonna, you know, it's the final pass that pulls everything together. So initially, it'll look like a mess for a little while, but
That's all right.
it's all par for the course. When you work in layers like I do, it doesn't make total sense until we get farther along with it. So these early stages can be a bit confusing for everyone. All right, here we go.
Okay, Paul. Let's turn the pain from 7 to 9 now.
Already done.
Okay, good. Thank you. I knew I could count on
Oh
you.
yeah, man, I wouldn't let you down. Gordon.
Jason,
I
Jason,
thought it's because Gordon is not sitting there. We should sit Gordon then after. And
Jason.
When I met you this morning, like we had a great conversation
I know,
about
but-
the Zappas and.
I was lying. I was pretending to be a nice person. You know, you
You see the makeup transformed him.
was pretending to be a nice
The pretty
person.
face fooled you.
Yeah, you got me. You got me. All right, well,
You know, you're a sucker for a pretty face. I can tell.
that's
This
very
is
true.
a Paul Booth face.
That's very true.
So now, no. I'm better. You know, I just like watching other people suffer. For me,
I know, isn't it great?
I know.
It's all right.
Schadenfreude, that's the key word.
I'm here now, so I'm in. I can handle it.
Yeah.
I've had worse. No, I mean, I actually,
really?
no.
Damn it!
Damn it!
I'm not your worst, huh?
No.
All right, we'll see about that.
That's not true. That's not true. That was, I misspoke. I'm sorry.
So I want to get back to this, the nature of this work. For you, Jason, you were saying it's just, it's an image, right?
Well,
but the image is actually a profound one. I don't want to get too highfalutin about it, but...
I mean, I want work from Paul primarily because he's a phenomenal artist, and
of course,
I love his art, and I want to celebrate his art, and being able to take a piece of his art with me is a unbelievably special thing. So that in and of itself, it's just an image for that. But the larger meaning behind it, no. I mean, it is, it's something that I think when he and I were just talking back and forth about the things that I liked, he very quickly kind of honed in on some things that we had. That we both talked about very often. I think that things that are valuable to both of us, and I think things that are...
But let's say what those things are.
Well, just that, when you're talking about the elements that make up existence, not a soul, not religion, not things like that, but the elements that actually are what all existence is made of. So whether that be, the Higgs boson is called the God particle because currently the belief about the Higgs boson is that it's the particle that helps provide energy and connect everything else in the universe together. The dark matter, I guess, is, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, I think dark matter is the opposing energy to that, currently, is the belief. I mean, that obviously that's changing pretty frequently.
The space between the subatomic particles that we're aware of
is the dark matter, right?
Cannot be defined.
Yeah.
Or found, really. But we know something's there. But, it's...
because it's affected by
dark matter is basically negative space in a way.
Right, but it has to be something. I mean, you think about, the air that we breathe and the water that's in, the oceans that are covering the planet. Those are all cellular. There's a mass to them, and the air that we breathe is easier for us to breathe and move through than the water is. We drown in water, but there still has to be something in space. There still has to be something that's holding everything together, and that's
And how does that relate to this tattoo? That's my question.
So when we talked about the things that visually I liked that he was doing, that we were talking about the the spine and the necrohelix, and then talking about the fact that a human is truly exists within a spine. A spine and a brain is the true nature of what a human is. That's what it is actually made up of. So that's something that's very real. And then bringing in the other idea of the Higgs boson kind of existing within the rib cage that he's building, just kind of taking those elements that he and I both really respond to because they relate to the things that are undeniable and that exist beyond opinion.
Our essential self.
Not only our essential self, but the things that are fact, that are the essence of existence. Because what you do with your existence is your choice, and it can be many different things. I mean, we've talked about serial killers and tattoo artists and all kinds of different people today, so there's all different things you can do with your existence.
Is there a difference?
Yeah, I think there is.
I'm really good.
But regardless of that, the essence of existence are these particles that exist everywhere, that make up everything. These are the things that really make up what life is.
Paul, is this how you feel about it also, what Jason is saying? Does that reflect your feelings?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a science guy, I don't have... my spirituality exists in my art, not in... higher power or anything like that. So, I tend to, I gravitate towards quantum theory and, things that are plausible theories over fiction.
Right.
Obviously, it's going to be a long time before we really know any truths, but, we all have our philosophies and ideas and theories of our own. And yeah, I agree. I agree with Jason.
I mean, and an exciting part of it too is that we are learning every day, and a lot of these things that particle physicists are learning and developing, the theories that they're working on are what define our existence and the world that we're in. And they've discovered things even in our lifetime that changed the way that we understood the world around us, which is a very profound thing. And those are things that. Again, going back to the idea that they are not in any way related to opinion or someone else's interpretation of something. They are fact. They exist, and that's what we are.
Right.
So I like that a lot because I, like him, choose to base my life on the things that I know for certain.
Smart.
Doesn't hurt at all.
I'm sorry that's hurting.
It doesn't hurt at all.
Before we had machines like that, Paul, how did people put tattoos on?
Well, there were coil machines. You know,
Well,
it
what
really
about-
comes
what-
from being the equivalent of like a door buzzer. You know, it's basically a clacker that jumps up and down really fast, then a needle's attached to it.
So 200 years ago, 300 years ago, when they were putting tattoos on, what did they do?
Well, before electric tattooing,
Yes, I guess
it was
that's what
all
I'm
hand
asking.
poke. You know, there's still irizumi, there's traditional tattooing like that, where it's just a needle on the end of a stick, and you just poke along, hole by hole.
And you're poking ink into somebody's skin manually, essentially.
And it's the same principle, it's just done with electrical aid.
And also the needle that you have at the end of that has multiple needles as a fan of needles, right? Whereas that's like one needle, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like this what I'm using now is more like a brush, you know.
Right. Yeah, it feels just like a brush.
A rake, maybe.
A rake, yeah, that's a better...
But it's definitely a brush effect
Yeah.
that you achieve.
Well, it depends on the needle. You know, there's a needle for making a tight outline. There's a needle for different ways of different types of brushes. This is the equivalent of like a filbert for an oil painting, because it's kind of curved, and you know, the way it's shaped allows me to approach the skin in a more painterly fashion, I suppose.
We have a viewer asking if you sell your art, Mr. Paul.
Sell my art?
Yes.
Sure. I just haven't been producing as many paintings as I would normally like to lately. This past year or two, it's been very difficult to keep my painting in the rhythm, because I have to prioritize a lot of things, and art related, you know, sculpting, 3D design, and whatnot. And I'm starting a new body of work this coming year, though, so.
Well, you've sold your art in a lot of different ways. I mean, the piece that that's hanging around your neck right now is part of the Paul Booth brand, the jewelry line.
Yeah, we should talk about that here.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Yeah, actually.
Jason here is my partner on my home decor line, and which is currently awaiting me to get my shit together again. I have some new jewelry designs we're going to be putting out, but yeah, paulboothbrand.com is me and Jason, and
yeah,
he makes all the dreams come true. So I've got a furniture line, jewelry line, home decor stuff, all hopefully, you know, by spring we'll be launching. That's the Necrohelix collection, which is...
which I've referenced, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, you know, it was a cool thing. That was one of those things that, you know, again, you and I have been friends for a while, and just through, I don't even remember, I think I was here just hanging out with you one time talking about, you were talking about all the different creative things you do, and you had this idea of wanting to create these different products. And, you know, my wife and I do most of our, or at a good point, we did a decent amount of our home decor shopping at Halloween time, you know, and the stuff that they make is never, it's either low quality, it's all shit, it's low quality.
Horribly sculpted skulls that look like light bulb
Yeah, it's like a
heads
serious, made of like very, cheap materials.
It's cheap material, and it's a very, many times like the things are very softened, so they're made to be, you know, more friendly, and, you know, so we talked about the idea of wanting to create high quality home decor stuff that is in the aesthetic of us and people like us and all of the amazing people watching right now.
Right.
And we've done a couple of things like that. I mean, obviously, it's, you know, it's something that is secondary to Paul's primary work that he's doing, but we've done some amazing stuff. I mean, the jewelry line that was launched was absolutely beautiful, and I think
it was very
a lot more
successful
coming.
as
It was
well.
very successful,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was very successful.
All sold out. So
roll your
All
arms.
sold out,
Yeah,
right.
that's good.
So, Mr. Paul, you do your sculptures both with hand, you're hands-on, and you also sculpt now with VR. How is that being like the transition from going from sculpting with your own hands?
It's like the growing pains involved with going from analog to digital. You know,
Right.
it's like the tactile aspect of sculpting in clay is very rewarding and creatively, I guess you could liken it to the difference between painting with a brush and painting with pixels digitally, you know. But it's still the same creative process. It's just different tools. So you got to look at it for what it is. Like I like a lot of digital art. A lot of people have a hard time with it because they can't get past the stigma that if there's not a paintbrush involved, it's not a painting, you know. I disagree, but nonetheless, it's really. Oh hell, I forgot.
So it's really just a different medium. It's like a different technique.
Totally. So virtual reality sculpting is digital, and you know, you're working in 3D. You're literally creating in a 3D environment. So so much fun. So it may not be clay, but it's fun in a whole nother way.
How detailed can that get?
Totally, as detailed as you can cast it.
Does it imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have also created an environment in VR that people would be able to go into this environment and explore the paintings at the gallery and different other things through...
Yeah. Well, like we're shooting this show, I believe we're still in 360, or...
yeah, right there.
As an option, yeah. So
right
I don't know if anyone's checking it out in 360, but I'd be curious to get some feedback if people are enjoying that aspect of it. But yeah, I'm working on an art exhibit, an online world, virtual world of my art. But you know, it's a long process because I'm teaching myself gaming engine development, and so it's a big learning curve, but hopefully in the next year there'll be an online virtual reality art space that I'll be sharing with all aspects of my art involved, you know, painting, everything.
Music.
Sorry. Too many cigarettes.
So, Mr. Paul, I remember that once you designed a temporary tattoo for Revolver magazine.
Oh, yeah.
They had this special edition of tattoos in the rock and roll world, and so you designed this very fantastic tattoo. Actually, I remember it was your mother's face, again, the model. And besides that, have you approached again to do some temporary tattoos?
Not really.
For people to play with?
It doesn't seem like there's much of a demand for them, you know?
I saw a thing online the other day for a temporary sleeve.
Oh, I've seen those, yeah.
Ridiculous.
I don't know, man.
Right.
Yeah, it's novelty stuff, you know. Anyone that's heavily tattooed just kind of scoffs at that stuff. And anyone that would walk around with a fake sleeve trying to pull it off as real is pretty lame. So, you know, I don't really cater to that crowd so much, you know. All the soccer moms and, you know, oh, look, I got my arm sleeved, you know. It's like a fake septum ring, you know. Lame.
We have another question.
Uh-huh.
Which one is being the most difficult tattoo you have ever done?
It's usually the current one. The most difficult tattoo I've ever done. I had a woman who had a double mastectomy from a cancer survivor, but she was a performer as well and got her implants at like 48 double Ds, something ridiculous, but she's out like this. No nipples or anything, which was pretty cool to work with. But like she had these huge boobs and tight as a drum because it was stretched so thin beyond capacity that the skin, I mean, could bounce a quarter off it, you know. But I was literally, for the only time in my career, actually worried I would pop her implants because I felt like I was tattooing the implant itself.
Right, right.
So I had to hit the black twice because I had to ease the black in, you know. But I did her whole boobs with leaf designs, scroll designs, and I gave her fake nipples and But that had to be the most difficult tattoo I've ever done. Just to get around everything and get everything packed in properly. I mean, it was no easy task, really. And for me to remember it like that, then yeah, I must have struggled.
Yeah. Right. Somebody just asked Paul, have you ever considered doing artwork for video games, for games?
Yes, yes. I actually have a treatment for a video game of my own, so if there's any developers out there that want to play with me, please give me a call.
I bet you'd be fantastic at it.
I have a video game called Torment, which is a pretty cool thing I can't really talk about, I guess.
No, you should.
That's not the game we're playing right now?
No? Oh yeah, Torment. Well, Torment involves all aspects of life, really.
But you'd be fantastic. I mean, it's incredibly complicated work. Not that what you're doing is not, but...
Video games?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the coding in there. I wish I could write that code. I'd be going crazy. But
sometimes it takes 2 or 3 years to build a game, you know, with a whole staff of people.
Right. Yeah,
but it's amazing.
Right. So, Mr. Paul, we saw you tattooing your mother the last time, which was amazing. It was an amazing experience just to see it. How was it for you to tattoo your mother after all these years?
It was so weird hurting my mother.
And the fact that she allowed you.
And her crying like that and acting up, I'm like, Mom, sorry, you know. Of course, I'm sure there was a bit of payback in there, you know. She used to smack me around with her paddle, you know.
She used to beat
really.
you. She used to beat you with a wet noodle,
my mother used
right?
To beat me
when
with
you
a
were
wet
little.
Noodle, but it was difficult for me because you don't want to hurt your mother, you know.
Right.
And you're the one causing the pain. You're solely responsible, you know. So it was weird like that.
Is it special for you that you have tattooed both your mother and your daughter?
Yeah, totally. I
love my tattoo.
yeah, you know.
Is it a bunch
any
of flowers
parent, you know,
crystal?
it's like a tattoo artist. Any tattoo artist out there, I'm sure, will agree with me that when you're a tattooer and you're a dad or a mom, one of your biggest fears is your kid coming home with some absolute shit on her from some tattooer you don't even know as her first tattoo, you know. You're always worried about, like, oh my God, you know, because, you know, there's all forms of rebellion, but when you're a tattoo artist, what's the best way for your kid to rebel and know he's going to off, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I'll get a, you know, not that they'll go out and get a shitty tattoo, but just, I don't know, you just worry about things like that, like, you don't want this kid. But, you know, I never should even concern myself because she grew up around it. So her being inclined to get shitty work is pretty slim, you know.
Right.
She
has very high expectations.
Yeah,
already.
you know, and so to this day, her only tattoo is the one I did on her. And not that I don't want to see her get more work, you know, but I'm totally supportive. I just want to make sure she always goes to a good tattooer, you know. But, you know, there's also the comfort in the fact that most tattooers, they find out she's my daughter, I like to think they're going to make sure they do a good job.
Right.
For various reasons.
You would expect them to, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's that side.
So, you know, many people have just turned in, Jason, turned on, you know. So just checking in with you. So is this your first Paul Booth tattoo?
It is.
Now I have a question then. You've been friends with Paul for a while. I mean, you guys are good friends and collaborators and partners. And why is this the first time you've gotten a booth?
Well, I mean, you know, first of all, he's a very busy man. You know, there are a lot of other people that want and deserve and need tattoos from him. So, you know, that's been a big part of it. And secondarily, you know, I don't know, we haven't ever really talked about. I don't think I knew what I wanted, so we haven't talked about you know, what
It's
that
always
would
been
be.
on the back burner kind of thing, you know.
It's like you
Yeah.
talked
Like,
about
we knew
it,
we were going to do something, but
sometime,
you know,
right?
just-
Exactly. That makes sense, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, when he and I are, you know, if we're hanging out, we're just hanging out. It's like,
Right.
you know, if your best friend makes shoes, you don't show up and go, hey, make me a pair of shoes.
So when you go out
know.
and hang out with Paul, what do you do? Like, do you go to bars? Do you go to hear music? Do you just
Usually
hang
right
out
here.
Considering I don't go out a lot, you know.
Paul's got a nice liquor stash here,
Yeah.
so if it wasn't so early in the afternoon, I'd be opening up some my eye on that tequila
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah, I mean, we hang out here. Every once in a while, I'll see him backstage at a show. I mean, I
At a
guess
rock
probably,
show, you mean?
Yeah,
Like
probably
a-
last time I saw you was at Slayer.
Yeah,
probably last time.
Slayer. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, so I'll see him out occasionally there, or come here, because, you know, obviously the gallery does openings every month. So I don't make it to all of them, but I try and come to several of them and, and
We
hang
have a
out.
nice
and
party
support.
here afterwards, after the openings, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and there's a lot of stuff, a lot of artists they show here that my wife and I are big fans of, and you know, so we come to see that stuff and look at it and talk about how we can't afford it, but maybe someday we will.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah. So that's I don't know. I feel fortunate to be able to have a piece being done by.
Oh my God,
honestly.
yeah. You're the envy of thousands.
Oh,
Right
well,
now.
I don't know if you're
Right now, you're the envy of nobody.
It's all good.
Right. It's
fucking
all
good.
great. Yeah.
Oh, I can feel that in my teeth.
I'm sorry.
You're very
I'm
brave,
sorry.
Jason.
Sorry, thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry. I'm sorry.
You don't have to lie to me.
No, you are brave. I mean, I wouldn't, you know. Yeah, it's not.
Now you gotta, you know, that's part of life though. You have to experience things to get what you want. You know, nothing is easy. So if you want something that looks that beautiful,
Nothing is free.
comes with some pain. You know.
I know. Why is that so? Nothing's free.
Nothing is free. I want to say hello
'Cause life is
to
a
Argentina and
cocksucker.
Ecuador.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have many people saying hello from Ecuador and Argentina, and so hello South America.
Why don't you talk to them in Spanish for a second?
Sí. Well, I can speak in Spanish for a second.
Do it.
Hola, hello, otra vez, soy Paola y estoy aquí mostrándoles el mundo de Mr. Paul Booth, que es un genio fantástico de nuestro tiempo.
chimichanga la puta.
Sí, y habla encima mío,
That's my
así que es más
Spanish.
difícil. Yeah, right, that's Spanish, right?
Marica, no.
Oh my God. Oops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the wrist is fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's like taking a plastic serrated knife and
We got a question.
Yeah, that's how it feels.
Mr. Paul,
Yeah.
how do you feel that people tattoo your style so much? That people kind of copy your style and...
Well, for me, it's flattering as the artist. I mean, I love to see people take my work into another direction of their own, and the fact that it inspires them to, you know, do it is great. It's
Well,
big
I have a
compliment.
piggyback question on that.
He said that you are the Sailor Jerry of this time.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm old.
That is a compliment.
But what about forgeries? I mean, there is forgeries in the art world. Are there forgeries in the tattoo world?
Sure. Well, yeah, you get assholes like stealing pictures and claiming it's their work. You'll see that on Instagram sometimes. So it's not so much forgeries, it's false claims, I guess.
Right.
Well, someone can walk around saying their tattoo is a Paul Booth when it's not.
Right.
It had
yeah, I've
happened,
seen
right?
it. I've seen plenty of that.
It had
You've seen
happened.
plenty of that? Do you ever think of suing?
I get people walking up to me, sue for what? You know,
Yeah,
what are you going
right.
to sue them for, you know? Garnish their pay on their job because they got a tattoo that, you know, it's not likely. But, yeah, you know, it's a lot of people... it's cool to have your work emulated, you know. I mean, I did it when I was a teenager learning. I mean, I tried to emulate Giger, Frazetta, and Vallejo, and you could call that copying, you know, because I was trying to do like
More
they
of an
did.
inspiration.
Yeah.
Think about all in rock and roll.
you know?
I mean, my God, think about, there's not a rock and roll band that doesn't have 10 influences.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, really, everything is, you know, going back to early rock and roll, being influenced by American blues.
Right. Everybody influences everybody somehow.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Not
I mean, really, the first Rolling
necessarily
Stones.
Everything has
directly,
always, everything has been done. It's just how it's reinterpreted and reinvented, but I don't think there's anything anyone could do that hasn't already been done.
Okay. There's been a request to see Tabitha's tattoo and for Paul to talk about it, to describe it. How should we do that technically here? Should we have Tabitha? You want to just somebody go over there and shoot Tabitha? I mean, I shoot her in the filmic sense, not in the not in the Second Amendment sense.
Second Amendment.
Let's grab a stick mic.
We're going to shoot you.
Gordon, let's get a microphone.
Yeah, we got it. All right. So, do we have enough light on her arm?
I can hold
So why don't you
with
hold your, move back a little bit, hold your arm up to the light. Yeah, can we see that?
Am I in the light?
Yeah, now you are.
I can't tell.
Wow, that's beautiful.
How old
Somebody
is that
really
now?
good must have done that.
This is I know a guy.
You know a guy who knows a
I
guy?
know a guy. I just know a guy.
So Paul, I'm here to, this is a multitasking moment. While you're doing the tattoo on Jason, can you describe the tattoo on Tabby?
Yeah, sure. I invented this logo.
No, oh my God. Here we go.
I invented you, so I invented the logo.
Yes.
Talking about copyright, yeah, this is a... No, actually, this is Tabby's
mine.
logo.
This is mine. This is my insignia, I guess you could call it. I discovered that word just today.
Well, what does it mean?
I call it a primordial clef. And it represents the notion that all of life emanated from a single primordial sound. I studied philosophy of religion when I was in college, and I got that idea, and being musically inclined, you can see here, if for those of you who are familiar with bass and treble clefs, you can see here the treble clef and the bass clef.
Yeah.
And I just merged them all together.
And what is this, since it's a kind of a joining, a linkage, a melding of religious symbols, what aside from the musical
symbols.
does it have, but you said before religious, you studied history of philosophy of religion. How does this capture, does it capture anything about your philosophy, studying religions of the world?
Well, yeah, I definitely, they're talking about the Higgs boson, and, you know, it's a little bit physics, it's a little bit philosophy, it's...
Talk about it.
A little bit country.
and it's a little bit country.
What's that song?
A little bit rock and roll.
I'm a big fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson. I mean, I don't watch him as much as I'd like, but I definitely am a physics enthusiast as well, and there's a lot of theories and discussion out there about how we as physical matter, when we're reduced down to an atomic level, we're vibrating, and the vibrations come together and compact us together. So, not to get too heady and my own eyes glaze over or anything, but yeah, that's pretty much, you know, that's pretty much the gist of it. So it's a metaphor, you know. It's like the visual poetry of string theory, you could say.
And so you were quite specific in your request for your dad. Do you agree with that, Paul, that she told you what she wanted, or do you have a different memory of this experience?
Well, I designed it, really.
No, I designed it. This is my logo.
Oh my God.
My damn logo. It's on my album.
I can't believe it.
It's on my album. Go to iTunes. You'll see it there. It's mine. He did apply the word. Actually, when I was 18, he made me promise.
She gave me the idea. I refined it for her.
Okay, you made a slight modification so that it would follow.
So you can call you can say he
musculature of my
refined
arm,
it. Yes,
which is something my father is known for.
We can say this is a real booth.
Yes.
It's a booth.
Yes.
It's a real booth collaboration.
It's not a demon, but it has the, you know,
the signature style and the feeling
mental
and
depth to the concept.
Right.
And then the signature style. You see the gray wash there. You know, the fade on the edges.
And that's what how old? 8 years?
8 years old.
That white's still there?
August
Right.
2010. I had a pixie cut.
Right. She went from very long dreadlocks to a pixie teeny tiny cut.
Yeah. Yeah, so this was 2.5 hours, and it hurt like hell right here
Ouch.
and right here. Everywhere else was pretty alright. The skin was pretty rubbery at like the 2-hour mark. But
The hell do you know?
what do I know? Psh, whatever.
See, how
I know.
is she going to know?
I do too. I grew up in this industry.
You've done one tattoo.
Say-
I mean,
You're right. I've done one tattoo. That's right. I'm the only person that matters the most. And then maybe I'll do a second tattoo.
yeah, right.
Paul,
will.
seriously, was it difficult to put a tattoo on Tabby? Was that a complicated experience or no?
You know, it's like there's no greater pain in the ass than family. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
you're telling me.
Look who's talking.
It
Just
was
saying.
weird, you know.
Making me
It was
tight.
weirder to hurt my mother than my daughter. My daughter was like giving her a spanking, you know. I was all right with hurting her, but Mom, on the other hand, I you know, had a hard time with. But you
Did
know,
you say to Tabby, this is for becoming a hippie?
yeah.
This is what you get
for-
for burying
deserve.
crystals in the
This is for the goddamn crystals in my backyard, and, you know. Yeah. No, it was.
They resonate frequencies.
It was
Everybody
a fun
knows
experience.
that.
It was cool to connect creatively and create a tattoo together. Because, yeah, she grew up around tattooing. I mean, big time. And then she's a tattoo kid. So,
Yes, very much.
you know, for her, her whole life, tattooing has been a part of it. So to connect on a tattoo for me was really special. Really
Super special.
good time with that.
Super, super special.
We want to say hello to San Antonio, Texas.
Hello, San Antonio, Texas.
Hello, San Antonio, Texas. Beautiful city.
It's been awesome hanging out with you guys. I hope you've been enjoying yourselves like we have here in the inner sanctum.
Somebody asks on Twitch, Paul, Paul, it says Paul Booth is a legend. Can a commoner, I guess like this person who's asking on Twitch, can a commoner like this person get a tattoo from you?
Yes, of course.
Afterbirth, what was it? Pie. Afterbirth Pie is the person's handle.
Wow,
How does that?
Sounds like good damn people.
Can you? I don't know if you want to say out loud how somebody might contact you and get a tattoo from you. Would you say that?
Booth at lastrites.tv.
Booth at lastrites.tv.
Yeah.
And they can make a request, right?
Yeah. And they get in the database, and when I find time, I call people off the list.
You know, Paul has got, you know, some a 3 or 4 year waiting list sometimes, but sometimes the things
It also
happen.
depends, right, and it also depends on the local people and the people that have to travel here to
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
get to
people
their
do
appointments.
around
So
the
we
world. Exactly.
usually
I
he
tattoo
accommodates.
plenty of normal people. It's not just celebrities and rock stars. And
Like Jason.
right.
Yeah, and things happen, people drop out, so someone
Right.
who's on the waiting list
And it's
might
difficult
get
to
in.
schedule everybody, especially when they are out of the city. So there are many possibilities to get your
Sorry.
ass in this chair, right?
Sorry? I'm sorry.
There are all kinds of ways to, you know, to have the opportunity to be tattooed by Paul, but the first step is to write to Paul, write to his email and
Booth at lastrites.tv.
Booth at Last Rites. Rites is RITE
RITES.
.tv and
Spoken live
yeah.
by the Joker.
So we have our viewers asking for Chris. We're going to go back to Chris very soon. We're so happy to have her here. And they say that it's fascinating your commitment to the tattoo art and that they love how you look.
Should we talk to Chris? I'll take a microphone and we'll talk to Chris.
Where's that?
I'm gonna, Chris. Is there a light back here? I'm gonna, Chris, you and I are gonna hang out on this couch. How you doing? Good. May I tell you, I'm not gonna be the first one, but I'm going to say this to you, that You're extraordinary looking. You're beautiful, and your eyes are beautiful, and the tattoo on your face is beautiful.
I agree. Thank you, Paul.
And you have something to do with it.
Yeah.
You do. It's your face.
Right.
It is your face.
Thank you.
And where are you from?
Originally California,
Where?
Los Angeles.
And you said you grew up there. Did you go to school out there? Did you go to college out there?
No, I didn't go to college. I worked pretty much as soon as I started, as soon as I could, at the age of 15. I've been working ever since to get the money to go see Paul.
And what were your work? What was your work?
Actually, back then, I still do the same thing now. I'm a baker.
Wow. What's your specialty?
I have a sweet tooth, so
No, but what's your specialty as a baker?
I'd say cinnamon rolls.
With cinnamon rolls. Cool. And where do you work here in New York?
I don't live in New York.
Oh, where do you live?
Houston.
Houston.
She flies in for her
Sure.
tattoos. Yeah. It's very
And
sweet.
what's the bakery you work in Houston?
I'd rather not say.
You don't want to say? All right, okay, because there's lots of people out there in Houston who want to eat your cinnamon rolls.
Yeah,
I'm sure they have.
Stalker
And
from
they
the
just don't know it.
doorstep, and
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
And do you, did you walk on the street and people comment about your tattoo ever?
Yeah. I can't walk down an aisle at Walmart without someone taking a picture.
Right.
So it's,
How do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't particularly like it, but I know going into it, it's part of the territory, so I'm not going to be an asshole, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. I mean, to have a tattoo as if your tattoo is beautiful, but it's also prominent, and you sort of can't miss it.
Right.
You're looking at you. Unless someone's not looking at you, you can't miss it.
It's gonna have a lot of fun.
Do you,
Mentioned. It's gonna take a little while to
your friends, are are your friends tattooed, and people in
Most
your,
of them, yeah.
and
It's really
most people in your world tattooed?
Yeah, I mean, I have friends of all walks of life, and some don't have any.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean it that way. It's like, I'm not tattooed, and most of my friends aren't tattooed, but my son, who is tattooed, most of his friends are.
Yeah.
So it's just, And can I ask you a family question? Do you mind if I ask you a family question? Like,
Ask, I might not answer.
okay. But people are going to be interested because, I mean, does your mom and how did your mom and dad feel about your tattoo?
Well, they have tattoos too, so they weren't
they
really
do?
concerned about that,
Are they still in Los Angeles?
No,
Where are they now?
doing the whole arm, so I designed
somewhere else.
Somewhere else. Okay. And but they have tattoos too. So do they think your tattoo is cool?
They think it's excessive, but yes, cool.
Yeah. They have to admire it because it's so cool. But yeah, it's yeah. And what are you going to get done? What's your next step on this tattoo?
Today he's supposed to be working on finishing the face. There's not a whole lot left on that, but he wants to do more white on this side, so it's more of a contrast with black and white.
Right. Totally. When you came to Paul and said you want your face tattooed,
that wasn't the initial one. The initial one was just the side of the head.
the side of the head. And was there something specific that you talked about that you wanted, an image or something?
Yes. I showed him a specific image and he worked with it.
What was that image?
It's this part right here, it's neurons hooked with chains.
Say that again?
Neurons,
Neurons?
like part of your brain,
Yeah.
hooked with chains.
Poked with chains. Hooked with chains. Oh wow! Can you guys see that? Can you? You see that? So you see the neurons of the brain, and they're hooked together with chains. Wow! Now I'm
Chains
seeing
of
it.
addiction.
Say that again.
Represents chains of addiction.
Chains of addiction. What does that mean?
It means if you have an addictive personality, at least me personally, you can stop one thing and
Wow!
it just bleeds into another.
Somebody, hold on a second. There's a mistake. Chains of addiction. What does that mean?
It means if you have an addictive personality, at least.
What's going on there?
Why does that keep happening?
Well, it only happened twice.
Sorry.
So Chris, let's go back to that because that was cool. So talk about the chains of addiction. That's really cool.
For me personally, if you have an addictive personality, you can stop one thing and it'll just bleed into another. Like people that quit smoking, they start eating more. This is pretty much how it is. Like it's a never-ending cycle in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, if you have an addictive personality, it's extremely, the thing to do is to find addictions
that are good.
That are healthy.
Yeah.
Like
tattoos.
Like tattoos, which is, yeah, right.
Casey Jones says that it's beautiful, but it's also really hard to take that leap, thinking about doing it herself. What advice would you give and
how old is she?
Well, that's the question. You're right.
Yeah.
And what would you say about that, how old she is? What would your thought be?
Repeat the question for me, please.
Yeah, so the question was, Casey Jones emailed, texted, whatever, asked, what advice would you give somebody about who's thinking of taking the leap? Yeah.
Wait until you absolutely know yourself and you know what you want. Wait until you have a good career. Wait until just you are very confident that this is what you want to do. You know, I changed a lot over the past. I'm nearly 40 now, and I've changed a lot. And I didn't have the confidence to shave my head 5 years ago. But
right.
How do you take that leap? Is what Casey wanted to know too. How do you take it?
So how do you? I keep on. I have something on. How do you take that leap? How is that leap taken?
Well, for me, it was just all or nothing. Just go for it. As soon as I felt the confidence, I was like, you know, fuck it. You only live once.
Jump off the diving board. That's what you.
Yeah.
No, right. Jump off. You just. That's what I want. I know that's what I want. I know who I am. What the hell?
Yeah.
You live one. You get one ticket.
Yep. And I couldn't be happier.
Right. Well, no wonder, because it looks spectacular. You're spectacular.
She applauds your courage.
Right. Excellent.
Yeah. So let's go back to it's the chains of neurons, and then what was next after the chains of neurons?
After that,
neurons held together with chains.
Well, that time I had a mohawk, so I wanted the other side of my head done, and I saw a friend did an image from the movie Event Horizon. That's what this piece is.
So this is the origin of your tattoo.
Of that one,
As
yes.
we have so many people asking.
Because I'm very much into sci-fi horror stuff, so that's one of my favorite movies. And then I saw that picture, I was like, oh, it's like my eyes lit up. I was like, I want that.
Right.
And then I talked to Paul about how he could work that on my face and head. And that was probably very difficult, just because you have a two-dimensional piece of paper to work it.
Right.
I think he did a very good job.
Yes, he did.
Can we show that a little bit more? So let's talk. Can you guys see that?
Oh, can we get another light?
Extraordinary. You want to talk about it a little bit? Well, if you don't mind, would you mind keeping your face up that way so they can look at it while you're talking about it? Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
There's not really a whole lot to say. As I've stated before, I like sci-fi, which is why I'm very much into Giger. The rest of the face and everything, like, why I love Paul.
Can you
so
guys
much.
see it? I'm sorry. I don't mean to. Just keep your face up. No.
Why I love Paul
Your
so much
side.
is...
We like both sides, but your right side is great.
Right.
Right.
Why I like Paul so much is because he's very much into Giger too and biomechanical stuff, and the Event Horizon piece just stuck out to me just because it's a futuristic piece, and it's very aggressive. And as far as my personality goes, I'm kind of like a two-sided person. I can be very aggressive, or I can be super sweet, which I think most people are, you know.
I think that's right. I think everyone's got both sides.
Yeah.
I have to say you are super sweet.
Especially
most of the time.
You're easy. That's right. Paola is easy to be sweet to.
I was wondering, which side hurted the most? Was
I'd
pretty
probably
much
this
the
one
same?
just because it has more black on it.
Right.
And, you know, the eye. The eye was awful.
The eye, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet that was. Now I'm looking at your eyes, and they're very blue. What is that? Are your eyes tattooed?
Yeah, they call it the eyeball tattoo, but it's actually ink injections.
Wow.
That took a few years to get the balls to do that.
Did it? And was that incredibly painful?
No, the only thing that didn't hurt.
Really?
And where did Paul do that?
No, he was actually against it.
Why was he against it?
Because I could have gone blind and completely wasted all his art.
There is a very good question, Mr. Paul. So you were not agreeing very much with Chris getting the ink on her eyes?
Aesthetically it's awesome. It's just too new. I worry about like long-term problems, like going blind. I mean,
Yeah.
that would suck, you know.
Of course. Oh my gosh.
That's the
But
only
like I said,
thing.
you only live
as far
once.
as otherwise, I'm all for it, but I just worry about it going blind.
Yeah.
So you have to go to a very good expert
I went.
that has the
That was
experience.
the thing about it. I waited a while. I went to the guy that invented the procedure. He goes by Luna Cobra. I started following him. I started following most of his clients that got the work done, making sure they're still okay.
Right.
And you keep seeing, it is fairly new compared to other procedures, but I'm seeing a lot more people getting it done.
Right.
He's an eye surgeon, or?
No, he went to school to be a surgeon, and his whole family are surgeon. But
Right.
he decided he wanted to do modifications instead.
So does it affect your eyesight at all? As far as you know, your eyes, your eyes feel completely normal.
I was already pretty much blind. I have astigmatism in both eyes.
Oh, you do?
So
So you have contacts?
I usually wear them, yeah.
Yeah. You have them in now?
No.
Oh. But
I'm not driving. I'm not driving or reading. I'm on vacation. So far.
right. Wow.
Excellent.
And what were the next tattoos? And what about the neck?
The neck. Poor Paul has to work on all this cover-up work.
Right.
So that's going to be tomorrow. He's going to be working on the neck and chest.
Yeah, we're going to be here tomorrow shooting that. That's still okay with you, yeah?
Of course.
Because I think that's, well, it's thank you for letting us in, and I appreciate that. Because it is extraordinary, and the audience that's watching this are all tattoo people, but I think I speak for the community out there that's watching. Everybody admires your artistic commitment. Your commitment, your courage, and your artistic, artistic commitment.
Yeah, you're a piece of art.
Yeah, that's right. You're a walking piece of art.
You're a walking piece of art. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I just can't wait till it's finished.
Yeah.
Excellent.
because of the pain, the anticipation.
Well,
of
the pain, yeah, that sucks, but the anticipation. Every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, I can see more and more getting it done. And
right.
Eager.
You're not that far from getting it done, are you?
Well, as far as the face and head, no, but like everything else, he's just starting on this.
Oh, I see. So you're gonna get your whole chest and wow.
It's hurting myself.
Yeah, just
wow.
Wow.
You must get a lot of compliments, though. You must get a lot of compliments.
Actually, yeah. Surprisingly, it is a lot more compliments than rude comments.
Well, people are generally nice, aren't they? Or no?
No.
Well, you're just getting more compliments than rude comments. Because it's, not everybody, it's startling for people,
Yeah, I just generally think humanity is not good. I mean, as far as social media goes, every time I look on there, people comment under the dumbest shit.
Yeah, people, social media.
As far as personally face to face, they're almost always nice.
Right.
So.
Right.
Way to be okay.
Yeah, right. No, people can be told. Oh, believe me, I know. We could. Yeah.
Right.
But it's nice that mostly people see you say that looks amazing. What are the most common?
I think they appreciate the quality of the work. They're very surprised in the detail. Especially on the face and head. That's not something you see a lot.
Right.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
I want to shout out for Jay Tucker, who says, Mr. Paul, thank you for feeding my family the last 20 years. You are the reason that he became a tattoo artist. So he's giving you thank you, and he says that thank you for feeding my family the last 20 years. It's very sweet. Hello, Jay, and we hope we can have you visiting New York soon. And a very special hello to Adelaide, Australia. Thank you so much for being with us and having this experience inside the womb of Mr. Paul Booth.
Why don't you tell the vagina story?
Well,
The vagina
I don't know
principle.
if people really know that Mr. Paul created his own vagina so he could live inside his own vagina, which is fascinating because all the jokes and everything. So Mr. Paul, tell us the story.
Show him the door. The door of my studio is a vagina.
So
because
you
the
can
womb
see,
symbolically is the safest
you can see the
place in
horrible
world.
hairs.
Now let her do it.
You can see the very, very horrible hairs and texture in this hideous vagina of Mr. Paul Booth. So, Mr. Paul, tell us, why do you call it your vagina? It's like...
Well, I got two reasons. One is it seems every man spends his life trying to climb back in, so I built my own. I don't need anybody, thank you very much. And
that's a good point.
And symbolically, the womb is, you know, the safest place, you know.
Yeah.
And for my creativity, you know, my chamber is my studio, which is the womb I create in, which makes the door the vagina. And the panic room's the asshole. That's back in the corner, the opposite corner.
Yeah, the jokes can go forever.
The jokes
Mr.
go on
Paul,
forever, yes.
You left your keys in your vagina. You feed a lot of people in your vagina.
Look at all these
too.
people in my vagina
Look
all
at
at
all
one
these
time.
people
I mean,
filming
God.
in your vagina. Isn't it that amazing?
I gotta get near the wrist. Sorry. Just this part. I will save the rest for later.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that is
baby.
The most
Oh my
horrible
God.
spot possible, eh? Woo! Wow.
Holy shit. Hey, you know I wear a watch, right? Like we could skip that part.
Mr. Paul, we have many people asking, how do you feel about gray wash?
Gray wash?
Gray wash.
What do you mean, how do I feel?
Do you...
I love it. I made a career
You
out
love
of
it, you made... Right. So that's...
I love gray wash. That's what I do.
Right.
Yeah. I don't do a lot of color because I'm pretty intrigued with gray wash. For me, it's all rendering, you know. It's as if I was working with charcoal. I just kind of build up layers and render the darks into different values, and that's why when I work, it tends to look really sketchy, you know, because that's kind of literally what I'm doing is the tattoo equivalent of sketching, and then I refine it. Like a painting, you know, you start out with the big fat brushes, and then you tighten it down to the little brushes for the detail. I approach tattooing the same way. Okay.
Mr. Paul, have you ever had an experience that you didn't like the tattoo? Like seriously, like you seriously didn't like the tattoo that you made? And you made it over, or?
Every day.
Oh.
No.
But seriously.
I have a level of, you know, acceptability. I'm very critical of my work, so don't get upset when I tell you I'm not thrilled with everything I do. It can always be better, but that's my own personal dilemma, you know. What's important is it reaches a level of, you know, it's as the best I can do, you know. Like I can't approach this, you know, maybe when I get better, I could do it better. So for me, the next tattoo is always the tattoo I'm focused on. Once I'm done with a tattoo, I kind of move on to the next one every day and try and make it better. It's not, I don't hate my work, I just too critical of it, I suppose.
Right. There is another very interesting question. Have you tattooed on dark skin?
Oh yeah. You kind of got to know what you're doing a bit more for success, because darker skin will keloid faster, and
it's more delicate.
On the art side, you got to think about the contrast. You know, whites are not going to work, lighter colors are not going to work. So, like, color realism generally doesn't work as well in darker skin because You don't have the vibrancy in the color that you need. Darker skin, it's all about the contrast. It has to look good when it's older. Your palette is so limited, the scale of values are limited because your brightest color is the skin color. You know, you don't have the opportunity to put lighter flesh tones over darker ones. So you have to work within that spectrum of like skin color and solid black, rather than like paler skin and, you know. So with that limitation, the art has to keep that in mind. So the art has to be a higher contrast visually. So yeah. And then you don't want to overwork it because then you'll keloid the skin. So you kind of do need to know a bit more of what you're doing.
Right.
It's easier to fuck up.
Mr. Paul, have you ever tattooed yourself?
Once. Early days. That was part of the initiation, was doing a tattoo on yourself. In my day, apprentices had to do shit like that, you know.
So do you see a big difference between how it was the learning process before, like in the 90s, was so different to what it is today?
Well, it was always a craft. Tattooing has always been a craft, and like any craft, even like carving gravestones, you know, there's passed down traditions and passed down information, and, you know, tattooing has always relied on that. And in the old days, you know, there were more artists, tattooers that, you know, took things a little more seriously. And, you know, like a healed tattoo was a tattoo. A fresh tattoo wasn't graded until it was healed, you know. See if the artist's work falls out or not. But now with Instagram, all you need is a photo on a fresh tattoo and you've got a career waiting for you. You know, those healed pictures don't matter as much, which is something I find a bit disappointing. But it's still important to me and many others. So, you know, like when I'm looking for a new artist for the shop, I want to see healed work. I want to see if your shit falls out, because that's the sign of a good tattooer. Not the bells and whistles on a fresh tattoo. That doesn't mean much. Public doesn't know the difference, though. You know, they don't know any better. So what they see on Instagram, they think is real, and a lot of times it's not. So there's a lot of misconceptions these days as a result of social media.
What would cause it to fall out?
Not packing it in solid enough, not enough saturation, improper technique. Healing can also be an issue. If you don't heal it right, you'll lose ink, you know. Half the battle is the artist, and the other half the battle is the healing. So it's as important for you as the client to heal it properly.
What would you say is proper?
Well, you know, general healing is, you know, keeping it clean, keeping it moist with ointment the proper way and everything. And a lot of times it's, if you're heavily tattooed, you have your own ways, you figured it out. So I tell people that are heavily tattooed, hey, do what you've been doing because your stuff looks like it heals fine. I'll give my suggestions, of course, but I don't deal with a lot of first-timers anymore, so,
yeah.
I know.
So when you interview new artists to come and work for you at Last Rites Tattoo Theater, what are your most important assets that these artists should have?
Well, like I said, I want to see healed work. I want to know that your work stands the test of time, because that's what a tattoo is supposed to do. If it's not going to look good in 10 years, it's just not a tattoo to me, you know. Good, I mean like an acceptable 10-year-old tattoo. It's never going to be like it was the first day, but, you know, existing still is a nice thing, you know. Especially these days, tattoo artists are so expensive. You want to spend some Instagram rock stars $5,000 a day rate, you know. You want a tattoo that's going to last more than a year, you know. And It's an investment. You shouldn't be price shopping a tattoo, you know. You shouldn't be, it's an art, you know. You have to let it be that. You're paying for a lot of knowledge, skill, and talent with any artist. It's a matter of you doing the research to make sure they're good enough for you. That's up to you, you know. The right style for what you're looking for, that sort of thing.
How difficult it is to make cover-ups?
That's an art in itself, cover-ups. Kind of becoming a lost art with all the laser removal going on and everything. It's becoming less and less artists are capable of doing cover-ups. They never learned in the first place. So, fortunately, I got like Logan Aguilar downstairs is a cover-up master. He does all of our cover-ups for our clients, and a phenomenal job. So I'm happy to have that aspect offered here, you know.
Yeah, because sometimes the laser doesn't get to take so much of the ink, especially certain colors. Certain pigments are more difficult, right?
Well, your laser removal we tried to do, it was 4 or 5 sessions, and it only got maybe 5% lighter.
Right.
And I had to cover it anyway, so it didn't really matter.
Does it depend of the brand of the ink, or do you think all inks are pretty much the same in that sense?
No, inks are different.
So some are like more stubborn and more difficult to
well,
take
you know,
out?
I mean, scientifically, ink are granules, little specks of pigment, and they're floating in a solution until they're embedded in the skin with the needles. Now, if those flakes of pigment are too small, ground down to be too small, which is what makes ink go in smoother. Ink goes in smoother because it's ground down into a smaller speck, so the ink goes in better, but it also falls out easier.
Right.
Because it's too small for the body to hold it in place. So the smoother and creamier your ink is, the less staying power you're likely going to have, you know? So these days, you know, those colors fly in like butter because they're ground down so tight and small, and they go in easier, so there's more people tattooing, you know, better. But if you're not saturating it properly regardless, and you don't really know,
they will fade.
It's going to look initially like it's in there and it's solid, but honestly, in the next 5 years, half of it will fall out because it wasn't put in properly. But you're not going to know that. Well, I would, or someone like me would.
Right.
But the client's not going to know that.
The general public don't know, right?
Yeah. You know.
Is there a piece of advice that you would like to tell people that are going to get a tattoo for the first time?
Well, it's the typical advice of making sure you've researched the artist and, you know, hygiene, ethics, proper, you know, really it's not just, you know, you want to see consistency in their work. If you see a portfolio that has one tattoo you really love and a bunch that suck, you know, then it's a matter of, okay, did I get them on a good day? You know,
right,
you don't want to have to think like that for a tattoo. So you want to see consistency, cleanliness, professionalism, of course, and you know, all the normal things that go with that. But really, it's consistency and the style. You know, you got to like the style. Everyone's got their own style. A lot can be versatile and imitate other styles, but it's good to find an artist that specializes in what you're looking for. And if that means traveling a bit and paying a little more than you planned, well, it is forever. And, you know, once you spend money, you kind of forget about the money, the money that you spent. You're not going to dwell on that, you know. Yeah, some artists may be too expensive or not expensive enough. Or, so it really depends on what they're producing, you know. I get upset because, like, I'm ranting on about artists that are making a name for themselves based on lies, like work that's like edited in Photoshop and presented on Instagram as real, and it's not, and the public doesn't know the difference, and you know, that I think is problematic. But so educating the public to me is really important, so they know what to look for and what to avoid. And seeing healed work is, to me, something that remains important. So I would look at that artist's healed work. That kind of separates the men from the boys.
Right. Also, we have a viewer's question. Where can people purchase your artwork?
Purchase my art?
Yes.
What do I got besides T-shirts right now? There's some art prints on the site.
Through lastritesgallery.com?
Yeah. Oh, my fine art?
Info, yes.
Yeah, Last Rites Gallery. Info at Last Rites Gallery.
You can ask for available work.
Yeah.
Santa wants to know if you can go into more detail about saturation.
Mr. Paul, could you please go into more detail about saturation?
Well, when you're doing black and gray layering, dipping is kind of what it's called. What I do, I'm a dipper. When you're approaching it that way, saturation's a little different because you're layering it in layer by layer. So you have to work a little bit differently. We're packing color in where saturation plays a different role. It has to be solid. It has to be, get in there, get the job done, come out. You got to make sure always that you're not overdoing it and causing too much trauma. But you just figure you'd like this, if every piece of color is a little speck, you want to pack as many specks in solid as you can, because there's always going to be some that fall out. So
excellent.
The more specks you put in there, the more longevity you may see.
So unfortunately, we have to leave you guys now.
Are we done?
Yes.
Maybe I should show this real quick, the progress we made. Real quick before we go.
Right. Right. Before we go, we want to grab Chris here and kidnap her a little.
So before we sign off,
we have
okay. Well, Chris, we've had Chris on quite a bit already.
Right. They want to see Chris before we
sign off.
So why don't you get a good spin of her head with a good light?
That's a great idea.
And like a slow turn,
Right.
And then we can show the progress I did on Jason, and then say goodbye and start our Halloween party.
Yeah, and unless
yes.
Jason, before we say goodbye to you too,
what's up?
Do we have anything? Well, actually, before we say, let's talk about Chris. Chris, is there anything for you to say about what caused you to have this tattoo?
Like, which one? Altogether?
Yeah, altogether. What made you want to really
individualize yourself? Is that what you're asking?
That's pretty much
the answer.
Yeah.
That's it, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to answer for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a progression with each one. Right now, I have
I had to do that too.
pretty close to definitive image of what I want to see when I look in the mirror, and we're working towards that.
And Jason?
Yeah.
Can you say in a word or two before we sign off for today, what is it that really has? What do these tattoos mean for you? We sort of talked about it, and
It's a not only a moment in life, but a part of life. And since, as we discussed, I don't believe in anything that happens, holy crap, after life. It's about the experience while you're living it. So this is part of the experience of life that I want. Not that part, but
the part of
later
having
part.
it. Right. The part of having it.
Tell me again about my eyes.
Painful part, right.
Right,
But the part about having it, right?
The having it and what it is and what it represents. I mean, that's part of the experience of life. I mean, this is the moment that we're in right now. This is the moment that we have.
Let me walk you through my plans here real quick with your tattoo, since we were unable to finish it today.
Yeah.
The Higgs boson is going to be, this sort of thing is going to be embedded in the circle.
Right.
So there's a circle right here. Let me wipe this down. Okay. So we've got the spine coming down, swirling like that, S-shaped spine, which you might start to see here, and the ribs coming off the spine. Still sloppy right now, but that'll all get refined. But that's the spine there. I'll be doing some biomech in here and making it more evil. So that's the spine. The ribs come around, which will be shadowed so that, you know, they really kind of frame out and encase the arm like a rib cage would. And the Higgs boson is this circle right here that you're going to transparently see the spine through it, but you're also going to see this kind of design built into it, like swirling subatomic particles and that sort of thing. So it's like a Higgs boson, but it's more representing subatomics, you know, in general. Yeah. That's the most complicated of the whole tattoo is this right here because of the layers involved. You're going to see the spine like a little bit lighter, so like this is floating in front of it transparently, the energy of the boson. But you're also going to see the shape of the spinning particles, electrons and such. Yeah. So technically, it's not really a Higgs boson, but it's all relative, you know.
Gets the point.
And then the smoke will continue up the back of the arm. So right now it's hard to define everything, but you can start to see the shape that I'm going to be building as I develop the light source. Like these will be shaded darker, and we'll get more of a, you know, dynamic actually.
How are you feeling, Jason?
I'm really glad that
He's
done today. I'm done, yeah. But I'm very excited about it because it looks gorgeous, and I can't wait to have it finished.
So from Last Rites Studio on 38th
go look
Street
at it, man.
in Manhattan's Hell's Kitchen, we have the great Paul Booth. We've watched him work for 3.5 hours.
guy owes me money.
We are so happy that we got
Duran.
to. Thank you. I am so happy I got to show you guys this crazy
Paola Duran,
place.
Paul's partner in crime.
Right.
Soulmate, partner in crime.
Right.
And the most beautiful witch on Halloween.
Oh, thank you. I am a witch.
And
Thank you so much for being with
and
us.
Chris, who has this magnificent tattoo all over her face. We show her face one more time. Magnificent tattoo.
So beautiful.
From this beautiful place. I think we've shown the studio.
Yeah. Well, we hope that next time, there will be a next time, and we can walk you a little bit through the collection.
We'll do a little tour.
Of the fantastic things that Mr. Paul has here, and also take you downstairs to the tattoo theater, where all the artists, like the second vagina, where the other artists share another vagina down there.
Yes.
Okie dokie. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Last Rites Studio, Tabitha.
Tabitha!
It's been a pleasure.
Yay!
See you in hell.
And we'll see you next time.
Everybody, thanks a lot. Appreciate you.
The great Paul Booth, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all.
All right, I'm going to look at this.
Oh my gosh.